What is going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How are you, beautiful people, doing this week? Shout out to everybody hanging out with us. The lobby is already filling up. Appreciate chat. Appreciate all you guys hanging out with us, man. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal weekend. Like I said, seeing people already pile in. Once again, on your way in, hit the like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. We completely appreciate all you guys' support. We do this for you guys every week, and I hope you guys enjoy the show going forward, man. But shout out to Spendiferous. I see him. Shout out to Shones Who Modded Here. Everybody hanging out in chat, man. Once again, retweet that link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. Get in here. Get your gaming fix. You know what we do every single Saturday evening. I appreciate all of you guys, man. But we got a packed panel, got a packed show. You guys know what we do every single week, bringing the fire guests every single week. And this is actually one of my favorite people in gaming in general. So we're going to go ahead and start with our guest here, man. Shout out to Fun Speculation, a.k.a. Mav, doing his damn thing. Shout out to you, Mav, hanging out with us here this evening, bro. Let everybody know where they can find you at if they don't know already.
Yo, yeah, thanks for having me, dude. I actually hit you up. I was like, hey, I know your guest wasn't able to actually make it. So I was like, you know what? I'm available if you got some room because I'm always in your chats hanging out, listening, and I always want to chime in. But so one of the few shows I actually sit there and listen to mostly the whole thing every Saturday. So I always love your show. Mad respect for everything you do on this channel because it's
Thank you, brother.
fantastic, dude. And yeah, I love being here with, obviously I'm biased to some of the panelists here as well. I love these guys. And but yeah, if you guys don't know what we do, what we got going on, it's over on Fun Speculation on YouTube. On Twitter, you can find it Fun Speculation as well, because we do lots of game streams, and we have 3 different podcasts we do as well. But yeah, man, it's a lot of gaming news to talk about right now, PTK. So it's a good time to be on for sure.
Oh yeah, we appreciate you. And you guys know Mav. Once again, man, a bunch of familiar faces here. Go check Mav out if you have not. Do yourself a damn favor. One of my favorite podcasters, just people in general. Super nice. Runs a great group of people over there. All my panel is over there as well. We're pretty much like long
Yeah, we're
distance
family.
family members. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's always somebody FSP. FSP is always over here showing love, whether it be actually on the channel or in the chat, man. So we appreciate everything you're doing, Mav. You got a great goddamn thing going over there, brother. I always tune in as much as I possibly can on my way home from work consistently, bro. So keep doing your thing, man. You are a superstar, brother. So
I appreciate you,
appreciate.
dude.
Oh, not a problem, man. Shout out to you, Caitlin. I see Jasper already saw Psycho. So once again, plenty of FSP love already in chat, man. Shout out to everybody hanging out with us, man. So let me go throw this over to my 2 compadres, man. With those over to you, Fuzz. How you doing this week, man? What you been playing? What's been going on?
Oh, I'm doing great. Glad to be here with everybody. Man, just still playing some GT7, still playing a little bit of Insurgency Sandstorm, bit of the Division, and oh man, just laughing at a lot of people just having nervous breakdowns on Twitter still about this whole ABK deal. But it is what it is type of deal. But so glad to be here. A lot of stuff to talk about. Man, let's get to it.
Man, let's get to it, man. And last but not least, Mr. Pong Soul, man, the battery, the Duracell of the Shop podcast. Chat, you know him, you love him, find him everywhere, but he'll get into that, man. What's up, Pong?
Yeah, thanks, PTK. Awesome. First of all, great to have Mav jump in here. Can't ever podcast enough with this guy. Give him a lot of shit and give him a hard time when we're always on podcasts together. But of course, he's one of my brothers from another. So it's always great to have him here. Glad he could jump in tonight and join us. Great to see you both as well, PTK and Fuzzy. You know how much I enjoy the Saturday night stuff. So it's been a long week. Very long week, real life, as always. But, I had my dad down in Cape Coral with Florida. Shout out to everybody.
Yeah, shout out to everybody, man.
Everybody in Florida. Hope everybody and their families, friends, whoever that are there are safe and okay. Devastation. My dad was, Cape Coral was 20 miles south of where it came ashore. So they were in the eye. And so it was rough. So been going back and forth with him, trying to make sure he's okay. Hard not being down there to be able to help him out as well. So that's been part of my week. Otherwise, just been making up for, my COVID break from work for a bit and working from home for 2 weeks, getting back in the office and catching up. So I was working a lot of hours this week as well. So didn't get a whole lot of gaming in, but what I did, I've been pounding beating the drum for this game. And I'm telling you all, Hard Space Shipbreaker is my go-to game at night, and just having a fantastic time with it. And I gotta say, out of all the games I played this year, this is top 5, potentially top 3
Wow.
for this year. Yes, just from a game, it's not going to be for everybody. It's not a narrative heavy game. It's not any just from a pure gaming standpoint, from a mechanic standpoint, and just fun, relaxing type game. Hard Space Shipbreaker is absolutely incredible. I'm having a great time with that game. Otherwise, played a little Ni no Kuni, a little bit more Assassin's Creed Origins. I tried out Let's Build a Zoo, which just dropped into Game Pass. Always down for a zoo simulator. This is cool, old school style. Looks like it's got like hundreds of hours of gameplay. Crazy stuff in there. Otherwise, I think Mav, me, and Steel are going to be jumping back into Battlefield tonight after Modern Warfare 2 beta got that first-person shooter itch again. So we might be hitting that up. But otherwise, it's been overall good week, man, and a lot of gaming news yet again. So let's get down to it, PTK.
And appreciate you, man. Thank you so much once again being a part of the podcast every single week, super consistent. And last but not least, your boy PTK Bland, man. I've been hanging out this week, doing my damn thing, just chilling. Not playing a whole bunch of games this weekend myself, but hopefully I'll remedy that after this podcast is over with, because I'm damn sure going to be playing some games tonight, man. So shout out to everybody watching, like General Spartan, Tim A, Psycho, Lore Master, Patman Jones, everybody in the chat. Appreciate you. Hit the thumbs up button. Let's dive into it, man. We got a whole lot to talk about. Let's not waste any more time. So we're going to start with poll of the week this week. Shout out to the 800 people that voted on the poll of the week. You guys are legends. Appreciate you. If you want to be a part of that poll of the week, all you got to do, follow me on Twitter. Super easy. All the information down below. I'm sure most of you guys that are here right now are familiar with that, but if you're not, all the information is down in the description. Follow me there. And we talk about the poll on Saturday every single week. So shout out to the over 800 people who voted this week. You guys are awesome. So this one was a little bit spicy. We've talked about this multiple times, but always like to revisit it every so often because it changes depending on what's going on in gaming at the time. So first poll of the week was, you get one wish, which Xbox game gets a full reboot remake? And these are really like launch Xbox One games. So we got Rise, Recore, Killer Instinct, and Dead Rising. So Rise won 46%. Killer Instinct was 22%. Dead Rising 19%. Recore 13%. So once again, chat, let me know which one did you guys choose at the poll of the week down below. Appreciate you guys' support. We're going to start with our guest of honor, Mav. We're going to start with you, brother. The chat, not chat, but the actual poll said Rise was the winner. Do you agree with that, or which one would you choose? Or maybe you didn't have one on the actual list at all, Mav.
I did vote, and I disagree with the results of the poll. Come on, I know Rise is great. Rise is a classic. Crytek does great things. I gotta respect that, right? But Killer Instinct, man, just needs to come back. And if it came back, it could come back in a bigger way than it's ever been before. Because Xbox has got all these IPs now that they didn't even have before. You got Bethesda ZeniMax in there now, and you could do so many new things with it. And when it came out, it was heavily respected, as one of the better fighting games, especially around that launch time of the last generation. And I think it's missing, man. Xbox has got this killer IP, and it's just sitting there and not doing anything with it. So bring it back. Let's get that Xbox first party fighting game going. Nintendo's got Smash Bros, right? PlayStation doesn't really have that, but they did last generation. They had Street Fighter as an exclusive, right?
Yeah.
So Xbox could really do some wonders getting that game, because this will be a guaranteed Game Pass game automatically as well. It would probably also play really well on all of the other platforms that they're going for as well, because I think the other Killer Instinct actually plays pretty well with touch controls. I remember dabbling with that a little bit. So you got a lot of cool stuff you could do with that franchise. And I think the fighting game community also really loves Killer Instinct. I remember the reaction that they had when Killer Instinct was revealed.
Oh, yeah.
Last time. I mean, the place went freaking crazy, dude. When they heard that combo breaker, it was like nuts. And I think that their ultra is ultra combo. That's what he says. But anyway, like, it's going to be a big time franchise if they can get it back. They just need the right dev to do it. And who knows exactly who that would be, right? Like, the easier answer is Crytek, just because of, Rise, because who would make it, right? You just make a partnership deal with Crytek, and they and they do that again. Killer Instinct is up in the air. You know, you don't know who can make it. Maybe that Rumbleverse game is going to fail, and you could get Iron Galaxy actually to make it, because they're the ones that picked up on the development of Killer
Yeah.
Instinct last time, and they've been heavy involved with Rumbleverse, and which is one of their big project that they have. But I don't see a lot of traction with that game right now. So maybe it's time for them to start making some partnership deals to get some some cash going. You know, so
Yeah.
maybe they make a move in that way.
Yeah, and some people have hinted at maybe a Japanese dev, Arc System Works, Bandai
Yep.
Namco, something like that as well. Kind of floating names out there, but I agree, Killer Instinct is great. Somebody like destroyed me in the comment section on a poll about Killer Instinct. I can't specifically remember what it was, but somebody like bit my head off. I'm like, relax, man. Like, good lord, they're like, well, it doesn't need a remake. It's perfect. I'm like, look, man, I'm just putting a poll out. Relax. It's not that serious. But great choice, man. Great choice. So Killer Instinct getting us kicked off. Once again, chat, let us know what you guys picked on the poll of the week. Which option did you choose, man? So we actually gonna throw this over to you, Pong Soul. I'm super curious to see which one you chose, brother, because it's a pretty good list, man. All these games, once again, around the time these games came out, it was a lot going on with Xbox, so pretty much all of them kind of got looked over in regards, in one way or another. But where you at on this, Pong?
So, if I had to vote from this list, I voted Killer Instinct.
Okay.
I did. Been waiting for, again, I'm not the pro fighter player at all, but I love button mashing, and Killer Instinct is like the perfect game for me in a lot of ways. I can sit down and button mash and just pull off some crazy moves and just have, and the characters that they already have established are fantastic. And on top of that, now with all the IP that Microsoft and Xbox own, can you imagine how many different characters we could get in that game?
An Injustice like Killer Instinct.
Oh my god, man!
They did it before with Battletoads, right?
Yes.
And also the Arbiter.
Yeah,
you know?
Arbiter's in there.
Yes,
Wasn't General Ram as well?
Yeah, General Ram might have been in there too.
Yeah.
Listen, you have so many different options. We've got like 3 years worth of downloadable characters for Killer Instinct. I think it would be fantastic if you get the right team. Like Mav said, that's the most important thing. And of course, on the top of our wish list is Ed Boon and his team to go ahead and do this. We thought about that for a long time. Arc System Works, great. If they could pull it off, awesome. I'd be down for that too, to see what they come with. But it's all about the right team when it comes to fighters. And, but I think it's got the most potential out of this list. Obviously, Rise, if they got rid of all the features that they kind of put into that game because of Kinect at the time, and because they were trying to push the Kinect, and that's why we got a lot of the what am I trying to think of
The
here?
QTE stuff?
Yeah, the QTEs. Yeah, the QuickTime events. Yes, correct. The QuickTime stuff. If they could get rid of that and make it a full-fledged, third-person narrative-driven game that we see over, on Sony, and take Rise and expand on that story, I think it's got all the makings of a killer app as well, a killer IP as well. So, and obviously, like Mav said as well, another great point. We know who would do that. Crytek has well established themselves. We've had, Xbox has had the relationship with them in the past. It'd be an easy thing to get done with a partnership. So obviously Rise is there, but I'm going to go off the grid here a little bit.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that Jade Empire needs to come back.
Okay.
We now are seeing the resurgence of feudal Japan, of Chinese mythology. All these games coming out, all these, we got Souls-like games, we got action games. There's a big giant, we've got, Ghost of Tsushima had a huge following and got great reviews over on PlayStation side.
There's going to be another Assassin's Creed too. That's
right, another Assassin's Creed set there. We got Rise of Ronin coming from Koei Tecmo. What we don't have is a truly, a true blue RPG. It's set in that time period. And I think that would be fantastic. Jade Empire is a great IP. I know some ex-BioWare devs have spoken out and said, well, it'd be a little bit harder to do in 2022 because you got to be sensitive to the culture. There would have to be some partnerships probably brought on board. Obviously that was a big deal with Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
Everybody was worried about how they were going to treat the culture, and they did a fantastic job. They had people come in and advise on what they were putting into the game. So I think you could still do it. But Jade Empire is one of those BioWare RPGs that deserves to come back again. And now with the talent in-house that Xbox now has, I think eventually you get one of those teams to work on Jade Empire and bring that IP back. It would be huge, 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 huge. So that's where I went ultimately with it.
Okay, so you kind of broke it up into two questions too, and I want to throw this back to you, Mav, and you kind of get your opinion on that. Now, the original question was just kind of which one you would see if that was your list. You know what I mean? Like pick which one you would love to see. He kind of alluded to a second question was which one has the most potential out of the four as well. So I kind of want to ping pong this back to you and kind of get your opinion on that. Like out of the four, is it still Killer Instinct as far as which one, if they did do some type of reboot and or remake, has the most potential? Is it still Killer Instinct or is it something else maybe not on the list?
I honestly think it has the most potential as well, just because the fighting genre is something that I think is coming back in a big way right now. You see a lot of the hype for Tekken 8. You see a lot of the hype for Street Fighter 6. So you could say, yeah, it's a little crowded. We know that NetherRealm's also working on 2 projects. But having that associated with the brand and the fact that they have that game playable from so many different devices, I think it could potentially uh, be really good for not only Xbox, but also just the game of Killer Instinct and the brand itself as well. Because you know what, with a lot of these games, like I alluded to Smash on the Switch and Nintendo platforms for a long time, and I think Xbox could really do something with that, like brand identity type game. You know, where you have all those different characters and stuff, and it's hard to inject that into some of these other games, like Recore or Rise, right? But if you have that game that kind of identifies as like, hey, this is the Xbox fighter, right? Or within that world, like you could really create some hype around it. And anytime you announce a new character, there'd be a lot of excitement. You could also do brand deals and stuff with other things outside and of gaming and stuff, or in gaming from other companies as well. Kind of like what Nintendo does. They'll bring in things from different places as well. So, and whenever like a Smash character is revealed, it's a huge deal, right? I mean, just one character makes headlines, and it's like the talk of the town and gaming just for one freaking character reveal. So it's something that I believe if you started it and you really treated it right and you put in the effort and you kept it going for year after year after year, it has a longevity aspect that some of these other games don't necessarily have, right? That you can bring in there. Kind of like what they're doing with a lot of their, and I'm not saying necessarily live service with this game, but it would be in a sense that way because there wouldn't be necessarily a reason to come out with a sequel at that point. You can just keep it going with new content, new characters, and new arenas and new modes and stuff for the long haul. So I think it would become an awesome foundation for them, but they got to get it right with the core. And that's the most important thing. So it all depends on if they can get the right partner. And the key is not to go with a partner where you're going to lose control over what the future of that franchise with that partner, like they did before with Double Helix.
So that means first party, probably.
I think you need to make sure that you're locked into either a long-term agreement that has to be abided to, or you need to acquire the studio or that is going to be making the game, because they got burned too much last generation on third-party deals, right? People like Double Helix got bought by Amazon, so they brought in Iron Galaxy to finish the content plan for Killer Instinct, and just like the Xbox brand suffered a lot last generation, a lot of these games suffered from these type of deals that they made as well. So if you like acquire, like let's say Arc System Works, which is an independent company, right? Independent studio. They also have a small publishing division as well. They are really into fighting games. You can also have another Japanese flavor with a lot of these games, but then you can also bring that 2D wheelhouse that they bring, where they can really know what they're doing with those 2D fighters to Killer Instinct. I think that would be a good move in that sense. But the other way they could go is like where they did like a 10-year deal, like with the Sobo, where they had a contract of like, here's 10 years, you're going to be putting out content for Flight Sim, right? They could also go that route with the right developer as well. So it just depends. I think NetherRealm would be a good fit, but we don't know what the future holds for that studio. There's a lot up in the air for them right now, like with what's going to happen if WB Discovery ends up selling to Universal or those kind of aspects as well. So I just want to make sure whatever they do, they have control over it, right? And I think Microsoft wants that too.
True. I agree. I think they've learned them lessons. A lot of matter of fact, if you look at pretty much every game on this list was a similar type of deal with the third party, right? Get exclusivity, make exclusive
Yeah,
games.
Recore was the same.
Recore was the same.
Rise,
Rise,
Killer Instinct,
same.
all of the
Dead
same. Yeah.
Rising, same exact situation. So that's funny because they've completely gone the opposite direction. That's why they've invested so much in their first party.
Yeah.
Thus not needing to go outside and really, we got everything in house. We can do everything in house, but something like a fighter is a little bit different. They don't really have anybody currently that's I don't know. Is there anybody on the roster right now that's made a fighter on their first party?
No.
Lineup right now? I don't think there is, right? I don't think there
Not
is.
your traditional 1v1 or 3v3 type of deal. Like for me, I wouldn't be opposed to Ninja Theory giving it a try. And here's why. Like if you play Bleeding Edge but aren't really an arena fighter type person, especially with their new spin with the whole melee aspect, if you just did like the tutorial, they had like the one samurai fighter and the one like guitar hero fighter. Those two, as far as like their melee combat or the combos that you could do with those, I think would be a perfect fit for something like Killer Instinct. Now it didn't have that whole shadow aspect as far as like their combos, but they do have like a visual flair as far as a colorful visual flair with certain power ups when you make certain contacts, or if you go into like almost like a pseudo invisibility attack mode or like a special. So I could see Ninja Theory, at least part of the team that worked on Bleeding Edge, kind of carrying that torch. Now it may not be, like I said, they're normal 1v1 type of fighter, but I think they could pull it off, given that the aspect be focused on that type of style fighter as opposed to like an arena, melee combat type of deal. But I also would love to see some of the characters that they made for that game put into something like a Killer Instinct. But I still think ultimately, whether it be Arc System Works or whether it be NetherRealm, I think at least at this point in time, it would probably be a smoother road or an easier hit the ground running type of deal for either one of those studios to give it a try. But if it has to go in house, I would put my money on Ninja Theory.
Okay, all right, and we're gonna throw it over to you anyway. But I got another question as well. So just kind of going left here just a little bit. I think Recore will be super interesting with the right dev too.
Yeah.
I think that would be really, really fun. They don't really have that type of game as well. It reminds me a lot of a Nintendo S type game, but I think that would be fun with the right dev too. But go ahead, Fuzz, get your opinion on this poll, brother.
Well, I got a couple of approaches on this. Like, in all honesty, all four could be great reboots as far as their hitting the ground running type of deal. As far as for this current generation, I would go kind of a different route with Recore. As far as you could almost, and it's not to say copy like for like, but you could almost go the Horizon Forbidden West or Horizon Zero Dawn way. And mix some of the platforming aspects, because there is some platforming in Horizon as well. If you went for, instead of like robotic dinosaurs, just the robots in general that they had, but have it where it's more of like a futuristic, not necessarily cyberpunkish, but go with like that whole robotic aspect, you could have something that would give Horizon a run for its money. Dead Rising, I didn't. Well, before I get to who I voted for Dead Rising would be another good reboot. But once again, you already have what is it, State of Decay in the fold with Undead Labs. So I don't know if you necessarily need more of a like a comedy relief type of zombie killer type of thing, but it would still be nice to see that one rebooted. And if you can't get Capcom to allow that to happen, go for something where you have maybe a spin-off to State of Decay where it is more of a comic relief or like a crossover type of thing. But out of those four, I voted Rise. Now, Killer Instinct definitely needs to be rebooted or at least brought to this generation. A fighter is desperate. I wouldn't say desperately needed, but it's definitely needed for the Xbox platform, for all the reasons that Pong and Mav stated. But I would go with Rise only because, like, you could almost do the Jade Empire or type of deal with Rise, just not focusing on like one particular civilian or peasant or someone of that has been chosen to become the ruler for that region for Rome or anything. You can go into other avenues of history as far as for different territories. But if you go with Rise and just focus on the Roman Empire aspect of it, you could like have him have some of the god powers that you had in the arena modes, kind of filter into the main story. So that way you have, that third person over the shoulder, slasher action game, but you can also mix in some of the, I wouldn't necessarily say, like, well, I guess the god powers themselves would be like the added kicker, where now you're not just working for Athena or working towards, something in the background where Athena and other gods are kind of watching over you type of deal. You can summon them to either rain down on your enemy or something to that effect. I think a reboot for Rise would be, what a lot of people have been kind of asking Xbox with that third person, just one type of deal. But Killer Instinct, definitely, like I said, it definitely has a place on the Xbox platform to be rebooted. There's so many characters now with like, before we even get into Activision, I mean, just within Bethesda, I mean, you could have Doom Guy, you could have what's his name, Blazinski, from Wolfenstein, and just so many other characters that you can add into the fold and mix in some of their weapons or specials from their game as like their ultimate combo or something along those lines. That I can't see why this isn't already a thing in the works type of deal. But I mean, given that Ed Boon has been kind of
he's kind of fond of
silent, but he's been hinting to stuff that now they have two things in the works. And originally, I just thought he was, him and his team were partly responsible for the multiverse thing, but apparently they got other stuff in the oven kind of cooking. So who knows if there's some other deal kind of behind the scenes on like a Killer Instinct or, Mortal Kombat crossover with Killer Instinct, which would be huge. But, I voted Rise, but Killer Instinct is a very close second. But any of those could be a good rebooted series. Hell, I'd even love to see them go back and continue the story with Remedy for
Quantum Break.
Yeah, for Quantum Break. I almost have a brain fart there on the name, but yeah, Quantum Break was an awesome game, and yeah, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, Quantum Break 2 was Control. And I prefer the time freeze type abilities, although the psychokinesis for Control was pretty cool, but maybe a mixture for both, or maybe the overlap in the universe with even some Alan Wake thrown in, have all of those stories kind of converge into a new story would be kind of cool.
That'd be kind of cool. I kind of like that idea. So shout out to Alvin with the $10 super chat. Appreciate you. He said, just happy to hear Killer Instinct talk. Unless MS can drop a bag on Keats, lead combat designer on 2013 and steal him from Rumbleverse. I'm hoping Arxis proven adaptability. Love the show. Appreciate you, Alvin. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the $10 super chat. And yes, we would all love to see Killer Instinct come back. Hopefully, like we've all said, the biggest thing is getting the right team, getting the right devs on the game. You got to get the core gameplay down first before anything else happens. I love the cool ideas. I love us having a ton of characters and it being, Smash Bros. But we got to get the core gameplay down right. So that's the key. So shout out to you, Alvin. Thank you for the super chat. And shout out to everybody watching live right now. Once again, let us know what you guys love about that poll of the week, which one you guys chose, and so forth, man. We moving on to the next topic, man. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to swing this over to you, Pong. See what you got. There's a lot to talk about this week, Pong. So I know you got something cooked up for us, something good. Are we going messy? We getting that out the way? Or are we kind of easing our way into this?
No, we're not going to go messy, man. There's been so much messy talk this week. I want to do a palate cleansing tonight. We're going to go to speculation town.
Oh, this
we're
is
going to have
better.
some fun. Yeah, because everybody, well, not everybody. I'm not going to say everybody. Let's not do that because not everybody does. But most people enjoy some speculation talk. Most people enjoy some acquisition talk per se. And not everybody got to this topic this week on most shows, and it's been talked about a lot, but it was brought up again this week, so it's still relevant. Giant Bomb this week, of course. Shout out to Jeffrey Grub and the crew over at Giant Bomb doing good things as always. Go check those ladies and gentlemen out over there. Fantastic shows. But Grub was hosting a show, and he had Imran Khan on. And him and Imran talked about the fact that they know that Microsoft and Xbox were talking to multiple Japanese companies prior to the ABK deal. And we've heard Phil in recent interviews when asked about their plans for the future and asked about, acquisitions, if it was going to slow down after ABK if it did go through. And of course, he said confidently, nope. This industry is growing. This industry is changing, and we need to make sure that we're at the forefront of everything. And so that is not going to happen. And specifically asked about, what he's, where the footprint goes next. And he's mentioned the East, that they've got to do better over there. We know Sarah Bond and him have traveled many times along with their team to talk to devs. They've got over 250 indie devs that they're working with. We saw what a success, they've had over in Japan. Now we've talked about that here as well. So, obviously the Tokyo Game Show was huge. And we're starting to see signs. They now actually have a team that is headquartered there. So they've got boots on the ground over in Japan. So let's go into acquisitions though. Multiple Japanese companies approached. Of course, no names were thrown out. And we have talked about this, but I want to go down now that we've been sitting on this ABK deal for so damn long.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, news just keeps coming. And, it's going to be with us for a while longer, right? Into next year, at least, until we start getting some final decisions from some of these regulatory bodies. So, this is, let's look down the road. Let's look in the future. ABK, let's assume, goes through. So now they're sitting on 30 plus studios, somewhere in the neighborhood of, 15,000 plus employees, maybe more, 17,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. But they need to get a solid foothold in the East. They're doing good work, and there's signs that it's working out. So, but what are they going to do to actually get some respect over there and finally make an impression, a big impression? All right, so I got a couple questions for everybody. We're going to start with Mav, of course, our special guest of the evening, our VIP. First of all, Mav, I want to know, if nothing was off the table, no one from the East was off the table, who would you like to see Xbox acquire, whether for fun, whatever the case? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a publisher. It can be a single developer if you want it to be. But who out of all the Eastern devs and publishers would you like them to see if nothing was holding Xbox back? There was no relationships, nothing. It was just all neutral ground. And then secondly, realistically, looking at the landscape, who do you think is the front runner? And who do you think is the dark horse over there?
Ooh, man, this is
yeah.
because bro,
it's a fantasy draft
who
time,
I
man.
want,
Yes.
and not only who I want, but what I think would be like,
yeah.
You
can start with either one first. If you know the realistic one, you want to think about the other, go ahead.
Well, they may be one and the same.
Okay. All right, cool.
Okay,
awesome.
okay.
All right. Make it easy on yourself. Let's go.
Well, I mean, it's still a huge thing, right? But with Grubb's talk and that conversation, it seems like, publishers are not off the table here, right? And
correct.
If that's the case, I look at something that would make a lot of waves, that would make a lot of sense, that would go along with a lot of the partnerships that they've been making over the last several years. And I've been dabbling back and forth on which would be my most desirable, and I keep flip-flopping between two there, right? But I keep thinking about the strengths of the studios and the kind of games that I like to play the most. And I gotta say, bro, I think it's one and the same, and I think it's Sega.
Wow. Really?
Wow, okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the same. Now, here's the thing. Sega's been rumored, obviously, for a long time that Microsoft could be going after Sega and all that kind of stuff, right? So those rumors and the speculation around Sega is not new whatsoever. It's been going on for years, and little hint posts and tweets and like interesting things like that. But then you go into the partnership arrangement that they made a few years, maybe a year ago or whatever, when they announced that cloud partnership deal that they had with Sega going forward, as Sarah Bond was heavily involved with that deal. A lot of people just said, "Hey, this is only about the cloud. It's only about this, only about that." But and Sega's response, and when they talked about the deal, they talked about how much their visions align, right? How much their visions align for the future gaming and their super game initiative that they have. And since that deal was done, we've seen a couple of the Sega games go first party, not first party, but come to Game Pass day one. Big franchises like Total War had a launch on PC Game Pass day one. You had also Two Point Campus come to Game Pass day one. You've also seen other games go into Game Pass, like all the Yakuza series games are there. All those games are in on Xbox now as well. You also have Atlas finally making their way over to Xbox with those
Begrudgingly.
deals, right? And are those games are going to be in Game Pass as
Yeah.
well, right? So you across the board, you look at that. Now, what also does Sega have that Microsoft could be interested in, right? And this is where a lot of people don't look at when they think about Sega, right? And what I'm going with here is a studio like Creative Assembly, who they have actually hired before to make Halo
Yes.
Wars 2, right? They make RTS games that have been successful on console as well as PC. Numerous games. They're also a very adaptive studio that can do lots of different types of franchises. They made Alien, with the Isolation, or I think that's the name of it, the horror game that came out last gen that was very popular. So you have a studio there that alone within them, I was like, hey, target those guys because they obviously have a lot of success working with Xbox in the past, and it makes a lot of sense with the kind of games that Xbox makes across PC and console. Plus, you get the bonus of all of the Atlas division and all of those games going forward, which has a huge, massive fan base in the East. And if you can guarantee that the next Persona is day one in Game Pass, that would be massive, right? That would be absolutely crazy massive. Also, you look at Sega, what else do they have? They also have fighting game studios, right? They make some anime inspired fighting games. I think the Demon Slayer game that came out last year was published by Sega.
Yes.
They have a history of working with other dev studios in Japan as well, with partnership deals that you would all of a sudden have that relationship working as well to go and work with. And then you get also the history of IP. And it's a lot of people forget about certain games like Virtua Fighter, right? And like remember Virtua Cop and like all these different things, right? There's so many different franchises that you have there that you could go back in time and revisit, and maybe have other studios that you have could potentially work on some of these franchises as well. Plus, also, what does Xbox struggle the most with in the East, right? They struggle the most with their name and their presence and their recognition.
Correct.
Sega automatically is like one of the biggest household names in gaming, right? Not only that, but it comes with a level of respect in those territories for sure. So all of a sudden you have Sega marketing on all your products and a lot of your games and all this thing and all these things, and Game Pass marketing with those. You get Sonic as a mascot as
It's
well.
crazy.
That would rival Mario, right? Like up there. That's like what are the top two mascots in gaming? You think Mario, you think, and then Sonic, right? So you get that as well. So there's several different aspects how that would make the most sense. Plus, they also already have a fantastic, great relationship with Microsoft. You add into the fact the deals that they've already been doing internally, where they've been shifting and separating their divisions within Sega to potentially make an acquisition of their gaming division more possible, because nobody like Microsoft doesn't want to buy a gambling division, obviously. You know what I mean? So within that, it becomes even more possible. So I think there could be potentially long-term interest there between the two. However, making it happen and making it possible would be a different thing. If you look at other realistic possibilities, I would look again at like Arc System Works, because they're a private company and it's easier to get a deal like that made.
Yeah.
Right. and they also fill a need within Xbox, and I've mentioned before that could be something they would target. The second one I told you about that I wrestled with back and forth, that I would really want would be Capcom.
Yeah.
You know, they have a lot of also IP that has a history with Xbox, within Dead Rising, the Lost Planet as well. Then also you get obviously the fighting game, and like Street Fighter. You could bring back Marvel versus Capcom and get the licensing deal done with Marvel for that. You have Resident Evil would be massive on there. So many different things that would be amazing from Capcom. But for me, right, I think Sega, and with my selfishness would be because of Creative Assembly, and I want these RTS games, and I want them on console.
You know, I'm with you on that, brother.
Yeah.
You
Could
know,
you
I'm
imagine?
with you on that.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, could you
Nice.
imagine like a RTS game? Like I talked a little bit about a crossover like fighting game with all the different IPs. Could you
Yeah.
imagine an RTS game on a Halo, like on a Xbox, that had like Halo, Gears? You had like um uh, Elder Scrolls type factions in there as well,
Yep.
like fantasy. You had all these different things where those are the factions within the game. Think Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle Earth 2, and how they had all the distinct classes were so different. You could have some awesome stuff going on with this world building, with all these different IP that they have, and having a team like Creative Assembly would be the ones I think would be the best choice to make something like that happen.
Absolutely agree with you, you know, on multiple levels, and I'll talk about it when I get to me.
Yep.
But can you imagine if they get the ABK deal go through, and then they get
Yeah.
Sega from the PC side of things? Let's say they bring back StarCraft. They own World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and then Total War.
Oh my
Can you
gosh, dude.
imagine? That is a powerhouse on the PC side.
They
Absolutely.
would also have Company Heroes.
Yes, and Company Heroes. Correct.
Yeah.
Because Relic. They've got Relic as well,
Yep.
which is another.
That's 1A,
Yeah.
1B, and RTS. Like as far as that goes, you know what I mean? Like, just amazing stuff. And I think a lot of people, when they think of Sega, they're like, well, they're not really strong in developer talent. You know what I mean? They just only have the IPs. That's like not true at all. They have a lot of developers that make a lot of different types of games. I think people just automatically think of Sonic and the failures that it's had. But you also look at this aspect, right? They got kart racers, they got everything, man. You bring Sonic Team Racing, you could do the same thing we talked about with Killer Instinct within that world as well.
Yep.
Dude,
the Yakuza franchise.
Yakuza, I mean, dude,
Yeah.
that would be like amazing. And I would rather them do that than Activision Blizzard, honestly. You know what I mean? For my taste,
okay.
personally.
Wow.
All right.
I like it, ma'am. I like it. You sealed both questions with one answer. I like your confidence. I like the passion behind Sega, for sure. Of course, being a Sega guy myself. So appreciate that, ma'am. Great answer, by the way, and great breakdown. Fuzzy, let's turn it over to you, brother. So one, and again, you could do what Mav did if there's just a singular one that you could think of, but one, no holds barred, nothing blocking, no problems. We don't count any issues whatsoever, for the fun of it, or just the best one that you think would bring the most value, however you want to approach that. And then second of all, the most realistic one out of the East. What do you think?
I like Mav's Sega pick, but I'm actually probably going to go with like his second choice as the no holds barred, just so that way we never have a Street Fighter exclusive to PlayStation ever again. And it's nothing against PlayStation. It just felt like it was the worst possible decision, other than for finances, that Capcom has made in a long time. So I'm going to go with Capcom as the no holds barred one. Just for the fact that they have so many different IPs that, yes, at times they were at their low point, but it looks like they've figured out the formula to kind of bring all of them back to life. And they've also kind of spread them out on various platforms where they weren't at one point. Perfect example, like with Monster Hunter, that was one that kind of surprised everyone when it came to Xbox a few years ago when, what was it, Monster Hunter World or something like that? I think that was that one. And
I bought that one. Yep.
Same here. Well, actually, I think I won it as a like a giveaway or something. But yeah, that was a huge stepping stone for them to kind of. It was kind of like a resurgence, that, and then the reboots for Resident Evil having that where even if they remain multi-plat, but having that constant content that you would be able to add into Game Pass with those particular titles or any of their IPs in general. Plus, you can go back to the first question or the first topic with the poll of the week with Dead Rising. You could go back to rebooting that series as well, and it could go back to being an exclusive on Xbox because it was. Even when I was a PlayStation only guy, it was like that first Dead Rising was so appealing that I was real close to getting the 360 for it. But the second one, it kind of disappointed. And I don't know if it was the timer thing that kind of did it or what it was, but the second Dead Rising just didn't quite do it in comparison to the first one. But yeah, Capcom is the one I would choose as the the shoot for the moon type of deal. But honestly, I think realistically speaking, considering the selling off of some of the arcade stuff and some of the splitting up of some of the other things behind the scenes for Sega, I think that would be the more realistic approach. Plus, kind of like what Manfred hinted to, it's like if you have that name, that's your Xbox East. Basically, turn the Series X into Dreamcast, 2022 or whatever you want to rename it or brand it as. That could be your face for that region. Plus, like Mav said, you already have a lot of those relationships with a lot of the devs in that region. So that could be your central hub for not only the devs that you're building relationships with now, as far as some of the indie devs that are starting out, but also the established ones that are already making fighting games or are they already making games that Sega is publishing for various regions and things. I think that one would probably net them the most benefit overall. Plus, even though arcades are kind of dead, you have so much arcade IP that could be revitalized or reused in like a Game Pass environment where look at how well like your Streets of Rage type of game did, even though that wasn't Sega that produced that. It was like a smaller indie dev that did that. But you could have a lot of those arcade style games come back to life, even if it's just for like, okay, it's added into Game Pass. It's that game you could, hop in, hop out, whether you're portable or doing, xCloud at your console or what have you. Those types of games would be, I think, kind of like the big draw, not just for the Eastern region, but in overall for a lot of us that are grew up on arcades and things. It's like, oh, I'm at the grocery line. I got my phone out here anyway. I could probably knock out a 2-minute session of Outrun on my phone through Game Pass or something like that. I think it would be a nice move as far as this whole xCloud and cloud gaming in the future and stuff. But those are my two splits on it. Go for Capcom because I think that would be the ultimate get as far as IP, but Sega just makes so much sense. I mean, it's almost like they were meant to be back when Xbox was trying or Microsoft was trying to acquire Nintendo, and heck, they even tried to acquire Sega. And I think if it wasn't for some sticking points on the deal, it would have already been a thing. But
Right.
yeah, I think it's definitely worthwhile for them revisiting that. And I think they've even talked to Capcom too. But the whole, Resident Evil resurgence kind of blew that up, I think.
One thing too, Fuzz, real quick. I don't want to mean to chime in real quick, but with Sega, I think you can let them pretty much run independently, but it just creates a lot of new possibilities, and you just guarantee the games are in Game Pass, right? Like it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
definitely.
100%. And you're right, Fuzzy. Capcom, the rumors, and it's all but. I mean, again, the rumors were so strong. It wasn't just like a hint. It wasn't a whiff that the contract was written up for Capcom, that they were ready to sign. Back when Capcom was failing and on the close to bankruptcy. People forget how close we were really to losing Capcom, like ridiculously close.
Matter of fact, Xbox had to bankroll that Dead Rising that came out on Xbox One for it to happen. That game wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Xbox. That's why it was exclusive, because Xbox wrote a check.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And then they took the bag from Sony for Street Fighter. They started the resurgence with Resident Evil, and the rest is now history. Yeah. So, but that was a close deal already at one point. So PTK, give me it.
Yes, sir.
No holds barred. Anything on the table, and then the most realistic one. What you got?
So after hearing these two gentlemen's arguments, Sega's probably makes the most sense from because so just overall big picture here. You get everything you absolutely need with Sega. You get brand recognition. It has the most brand recognition out of all the companies, out of all the publishers and or devs, right? Instantly, you get the brand recognition. Instantly, you get the history, the IPs that both of them have already gone over. It is a king's treasure chest. Like you get everything you absolutely need. You get a bunch of talent. You get the history on top of them already having a great relationship. And Mav brought up a great point. They can run autonomously. Xbox does not have to go in and really do much at all, right? Just continue to pump in money, integrate them into the first party, and boom, there you go. Like you said, Xbox East. But I was kind of looking around. There's some other interesting choices. There's another company who, even through the Xbox One generation, has always shown Xbox love, and always they never really did Xbox wrong, never really turned their back on them, and that was Bandai Namco.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yes,
another.
sir.
They have a treasure trove, and I'm gonna go down the list here just so people know. We got Pac-Man, we got Scarlet Nexus, we got Tales of Arise. They do a lot of anime stuff. They did the Jump Force, they did the Dragon Ball Z Fighter stuff. They do the One Piece stuff. You got Tekken, Little Nightmares, Code Vein, some Dark Souls, Ace Combat. Great game. That's an OG game. Soul Calibur, Ridge Racer. They got a lot of stuff. There's a bunch of other games. Now, I don't know how many other devs they have up underneath Namco. I don't think they have the diversity as far as devs that Sega has, but Sega's a publisher, so I think they're a bit bigger than Namco. I'm not sure, but I think they're quite a bit bigger. But I think Bandai Namco is a great second choice, if not Sega, just because the relationship's already there. I think their IPs, well, I don't think they have as many great IPs as Sega, but the top like 5 or 6 are just as good as Sega's, in my opinion. From a fighter standpoint, you got that. You got some other areas that Xbox really doesn't have as well. You can do the JRPG stuff as well with some of the games, the Tales of Arise stuff, which is really popular over there in Japan as well. So you got a lot of flexibility there too. Capcom would probably be my third choice as well. I think me and you've talked about this, Fuzz, in party chat before.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of gone over and did our whole fantasy draft as far as these Japanese developers. But I'm curious. So we've all said either Capcom, Sega, or I brought up Bandai. And we haven't gotten to you yet, Pong. I'm curious. Is there any other one that you guys, maybe like a left field dev Japanese dev that you guys would like to see them get that wouldn't originally, that maybe most people wouldn't think?
Well,
Koei Tecmo.
yeah, Koei Tecmo. That's a great one.
Okay.
That's a great one. My dark horse, and again, shout out to Jasper. He's the first one that I heard bring this up. It was a back of my skull, but Jasper's the first one that actually said it out loud. And the more I've looked at it, Nexon. Nexon as a publisher. Listen, again, they started in Korea, right? So that's where they started their company. They built up their company. Now they have moved their headquarters to Japan. You cover 2 areas, and people don't. When you think nobody knows Nexon. Like, you don't think of Nexon when you think of the big publishers over in the East, but these guys are on their way. These guys are making huge moves. They've got huge deals in the works. A lot of the games coming out next year. They've partnered with Embark Studios, who is making Arc Raiders, and now the Finals, which we just got a preview of this week, a trailer. They're doing big things behind the scenes, and like I said, that dual country status. They are well known in Korea. They are now a Japanese company. Gives you a ton of flexibility, gives you a ton of built-in relationships from both of those countries. And you know how hyped I am about the South Korea devs right now and what's coming out of there. I think that would be a 2-for-1 get on a publisher that is up and coming right now and has a lot of potential. So Nexon would be my dark horse out of those.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. So yeah, those are really my 3 chats. So once again, y'all let us know what you guys think about that. But Pong, we did not get to that was your dark horse choice.
Yeah,
we did not get your breakdown on your obvious choice.
Yeah. So let's do this. So no holds barred. I go back and forth. Obviously, the big 3: Capcom, Bandai Namco, and Sega. They're all favorites of mine. I'm a Sega kid, heart through and through. No holds barred whatsoever here. And of course, you got to throw in Square Enix just because I want to watch the world burn. Okay?
You're not
Simply because
that's your devious side.
Yeah, I just want to watch the world burn if that had ever happened in any way, shape, and I don't think it would. They don't mix well. They're like oil and water from a management standpoint. But if we're talking no holds barred, if I just want to have some real fun, Square Enix is the way to go for Xbox. And that'd be simply fantastic. And I think they would really help Square Enix and really, again, just being underneath the umbrella. I think there is some really great stuff that could come out of that. I just don't think it's going to happen. But man, the internet and our podcast would be absolutely amazing if it ever did. Oh my God. So, I go back and forth between all these three. I could easily do what Mav did. That's how much I love Sega and all of it. But I'm going to say Capcom here. And
okay, you going fuzzy route, huh?
Yeah, I'm going fuzzy's route here with Capcom. Again, the IP, let me just run down this list. 1942, Ace Attorney, Bionic Commando, Breath of Fire, Buster Brothers, Darkstalkers, Dead Rising, Devil May Cry, Dino Crisis, Dragon's Dogma, Final Fight, Geist Crusher, Ghost and Goblins, Lost Planet, Marvel vs. Capcom, Mega Man.
Don't make me change my pick, Paul. You can stop now. You can. I think that's enough.
No, Monster Hunter, Okami, Onimusha, Power Stone, Resident Evil, Rival School, Sengoku Busara, Star Gladiator, Steel Battalion could come back, Street Fighter, Strider, Beautiful Joe. They've got some of the most powerful IP, and like Fuzzy brought up, they are back to the old Capcom. Now we're seeing new IP come out like Exoprimal, right? Coming out of nowhere. They are back to creating things. We see Dragon's Dogma making a second, finally getting a sequel after all these years, and it sounds like they're putting in the RE engine. They're going all out on Dragon's Dogma. Capcom is back in their bag again, folks. They are back to the powerhouse, and their publishing arm is no slouch either. It might not quite be as big as Sega's is over there, but it is definitely not a slouch. So Capcom, just from the simple fact of how they've got seemingly their management team has gotten everything back on track. They seem to understand the gaming industry as it is now in 2022 and going forward, which we've seen a lot of companies lost. Capcom gets it now. And I think that moving underneath the umbrella, becoming Xbox East, opening up opportunities with the cash flow to be able to go back and redo a Dino Crisis, reboot a Dino Crisis, which people have been calling for. Power Stone was on their roadmap that got leaked, but that's another franchise people have been calling back for. Lost Planet coming back will be huge. Like I said, Steel Battalion is an Xbox favorite because it was an exclusive with the monster controller that took up basically half your desk because that's how realistic it was. And we know how much Phil loves mech games, but mech games licensing is all over the place. But he would now have no problem bringing back a mech game. Listen, there's so many different reasons to do Capcom just from a power standpoint, where if there was no issues whatsoever, money-wise, all of that, I think Capcom would be an amazing addition. And I love Bandai Namco and what they've done, and I'm really on board with that. But the most realistic one, again, we all come back to this because of the history, because of the relationships, because of all the partnerships and the deals that have been done, and because seemingly their management styles are so close in what they do. It's just that Sega's got all of that Eastern flavor. They understand the industry over there. They've got all the relationships built in. They've got this huge publishing arm. Like Mav said, you get the PC side of things, which we know is huge for Xbox. It would mean more RTS games potentially coming to console as well. That'd be huge. Atlas is now a juggernaut of a JRPG maker just with Persona alone. So you get that as well. And then the unbelievable list of IP that everybody forgets that Sega has, including, of course, Sonic, which seems to be making a comeback. Movies have hit. Now Sonic Frontiers coming out. Every time it shows off Sonic Frontiers, more people jump on board and say, this is looking better and better and better. Now we'll see how it turns out. But Sonic as a mascot, like Mav brought up, to add to the
Mount Rushmore,
right next to Master Chief. You got Sonic now associated with Xbox as Xbox East. Listen, this is a pre-built relationship going back decades that could finally come to fruition. That just would be and I've said this previously, if they got this deal done, if they were to acquire Sega, it would be almost as simple as a ZeniMax deal where they know these people so well that they just automatically come on in. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Here's a little extra cash flow. You know, we got some project ideas. We got some IP we want you guys to bring back. We might got some IP that we want you to go ahead and give to some of our studios. But otherwise, you guys just keep doing what you're doing over there. I think it would be a fantastic move. At the end of the day, it would solidify everything they're looking for. Absolutely 100% concrete. They would have the biggest footprint that they've ever had over in the East by far, bar none.
Instantly.
And it would just instant credibility with every single dev over there, every single publisher over there. And I think that that's exactly the mark that Phil is talking about that he wants to make over there. Now, whether or not that comes to fruition, whether or not this ABK deal and all this regulatory bodies and all this scrutiny, tones that down, we'll see. But I think Sega is the move that they make. My God, just go down through their list. I'm not going to read their IPs, but the RPGs that have been sitting there dormant for so long that they could bring back is absolutely stunning and incredible. It is. I mean, listen, Obsidian could get back to Alpha Protocol again, for God's sakes. I mean, a dream come true for me, Mav, and many others who experienced Alpha Protocol back in the day. There's just so much there that they could work with. It would be huge. It would be on the level of ABK from an IP standpoint. Maybe not that Call of Duty, that shining diamond that everybody points to. But at the end of the day, in the long term, we're talking about 10, 15 years, 20 years, this plan that they have to dominate the world, to get 2 billion, 3 billion people with mobile, with PC, with cloud, Sega would fill every need that they have.
That would be accelerated extremely.
Yes.
Yeah, that would accelerate their process.
Yeah. Thank you, brothers, for all your input. It was great.
No,
I love doing this.
Great fucking topic, dude. Like, that was an awesome topic. Shout out to chat. Super engaged with that as well, man. There's no wrong answer. So that's basically what we're saying. I think Sega's the obvious choice for all the reasons that you just went over, Pong. And we can do that all day, but great topic. We're gonna throw this over to you, Fuzz. I know you got a hot one for us. I don't know where you're going with this. I don't know if it's messy. I know Pong decided he's gonna stay clean this week. No messy stuff from Pong, but we like to get into the weeds a little bit too. But go ahead and hit us with it, man.
Well, this week I'm gonna go messy again, and it's mainly a kind of a bit of a rant for me. As someone that has both PlayStation and Xbox, and I play a good bit on both. For the most part, PlayStation gets turned on daily for a couple of games, and if my Xbox isn't turned on, my PC is on, or I'm on xCloud on my Steam Deck or something along those lines. But in any event, PlayStation has this new program coming out, and it's coming to the US later this month. It's already over in Japan currently, and it's their PlayStation Stars new loyalty program that they offer. And like most loyalty programs, there are perks there that whether you play more games or you spend more on games, you wind up getting some bonuses. One of their bonuses just happens to be once you reach tier level 5 by achieving, I think it's like 120 rare trophies, and you buy 4 games at full price, you're now in tier 4, and they have kind of like a waiting line skip for customer service. So if you're on hold with customer service, which let's be honest, their customer service is not the greatest, especially if you're looking to do a refund or a return on something. But in any event, they are now promoting that you can, press 4 and skip the line type of deal with this tier 4 program. Now, before I get to your guys' thoughts on it, I just want to put it out there. When I heard this, it doesn't sound like, on face value, it's not the end of the world by any means. But I just kind of always go back to thinking of, like, I'm the consumer. I'm at a grocery store. I'm in the 10 items or less aisle, or in the 10 items or less line, and I have my bread and milk because his wife called me. I'm out and about. Hey, we need bread and milk. All right, I got that. 2 items. The guy behind me now has a cart of 8 or 9 items, but because he has tier 4 status at Acme, he gets to skip ahead of the line. I got a problem with that. Now, I'm usually the guy, if I have a full cart, like not in the express line anymore, totally different scenario. Guy behind me just has the bread and milk, but I got like 20 items in my cart, not the express line, mind you. And I'm not doing the automated checkout type of deal. This was before automated checkout times. It's like, okay, I'm going to be the nice guy. That person can go ahead because by the time I get everything out the cart, they could already be in and out of there in no time flat. But it just struck me wrong when they have this like, okay, because you bought, 4 games and you've achieved these other trophies, which looking at some of the trophies I have now between things like Gran Turismo or even like what do you call it, Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that. I have a decent amount of rare trophies, and I don't know if they count those retro actively as far as within the past year or not. But
Supposedly no, Fuzzy. Supposedly no. I've heard no, they don't.
But considering how many games I wind up buying from them, I would probably be able to qualify for that by the time I buy, or when I was planning on buying God of War this year, full price type of thing. At this point, they're not getting another red cent out of me until they change this policy. That's just my 2 cents on it. I can't reward a company with more money. I mean, sure, everybody loves to feel special as far as, from a customer service standpoint. And as someone that used to do customer service for the company I work for, there's a difference between somebody that has like a $500 account and a $5,000 account. When the person says, "Oh, I'm not going to spend another red cent with you guys anymore," and they only spent 500, it's like, well, we're sorry, sir. If there's anything else we can do, we'll try to take care of you. And if they hang up, they hang up. It's like, oh, no big deal. $5,000 account, at one point it was like, okay, let's see what if we do like a free shipping on the next order, before free shipping was like a standard thing. A lot of times that would make them come around, and you would, basically give an olive branch to keep them as a customer, and they would continue to, spend another 5,000 in the next year and so forth. But a lot of companies do stuff like that, and it's not written anywhere, but it's not in your face as, hey, spend more money with us and we'll treat you better. It was just kind of a given. But when a company puts it in writing, it just hits me a little bit differently, I guess. But before or instead of just rambling on and ranting, I'll start off with you, Mav. After hearing, the customer service stars program line skip, what are your thoughts as far as other things that possibly PlayStation could do with their, stars program that would be a little less anti-consumer?
Ooh. Oh, I like how you asked me what they should do, because there's lots of examples. I mean, Microsoft's kind of set the standard with that in gaming, I think, with the rewards program. Nintendo even is pretty decent. They give you coins back for buying games and stuff, and you can redeem those. PlayStation has lacked that for a long time. They've implemented the Stars program, and they're focusing a lot on these digital collectibles. I don't think anybody honestly really cares about those so far. I haven't really seen any excitement about the digital collectibles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is one aspect they're really focusing on. And then you have the skip ahead things, like which is a tier 4 thing, spend a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So overall, I like the fact that they're trying to do stuff, but it seems like they have no clue in how to do stuff, and they're trying to just prioritize and reward people that spend the most money without incentivizing giving a lot of money back. So
Yeah.
for me, I look at the other rewards programs and how they focus on giving back to the players instead of gatekeeping the players that spend the most money. That is not the right way to do it, right? So, what I would like to see is maybe if you want to have levels on how people spend, yeah, the best customers, right? I understand, right? Microsoft has levels as well, right, with the
Oh,
rewards program,
absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Right. So, but they incentivize it by getting the most back, right? So
Yeah.
instead of saying your service is going to be better, which is absolutely ludicrous, just give more back, right? That's it. Just give more back to the players that spend the most money. Because guess what? They're investing the most in the ecosystem anyway. So as a consumer, I would understand if they're getting the most back percentage
Exactly.
wise or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you say that I'm trying to enter an ecosystem and I have to wait behind the 13-year-old dweeby kid that does nothing but play video games all day and spends their parents' credit card money on video games. And he has a question about this game that he feels like screwed him over, or like his PlayStation 5 is making a skipping noise, and you're like entering the ecosystem, right? You're entering the ecosystem for the first time. Hey, I don't understand how this works, and there's a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
I've seen YouTube videos on people not thinking their PlayStations were broken when they had them upside down, right?
Yeah.
So obviously you got to have some kind of support, but if I just think of a physical manifestation of this, right, where like there's a line of people waiting outside of like a technical support store holding their broken PS5s, and then the dude that like spends a lot of money just walks in front and cuts everybody. I mean, if I was standing in line waiting there, I'd be kind of like upset. And they would never do that in that situation. They're only doing it because they can add a simple, easy little reward thing. So this was like something that they sat around as like, okay, what are the little things we can do that is going to be easy for us to implement? And that just seems like an easy thing. It was just a dumb move, right?
Yeah.
I do hope they take the feedback and change it when it comes to global, because this is when they launch originally in one region, it's usually for a test bed, right? To kind of see what the reactions
Yeah.
are for different things. And there's reason to think that maybe they would understand that, hey, that maybe didn't jive well with a lot of people. We're going to make sure we change that now for them and for everybody else. But that's what I want to see. I want to see, what I care about the most is the money back, the rewards back.
Exactly.
And I want to be able to buy more things in your ecosystem because I am invested so heavily in it. So give back to me for investing in you, and I will play more of your games by buying more with the rewards you give me. It seems as simple as that. So that's all I really care about. If I have this stupid little spinning statue, I don't really care about that. If I get to skip ahead, you know, I'd be like, oh, that's cool, I get to skip ahead. But I'd also like kind of feel like a jerkwad doing that. I don't know if that goes on to like the phone calls as well as the chat help. If that went to the phone calls as well, that'd be even freaking worse. Like, what do you give me your level 4 credentials so I can pass you through to our supervisor? I mean, like, what is like, how does that gonna implement that? I think automatically, like the way they're probably doing it is they're probably doing it like, if you're signed into your PlayStation account online and you go to the support, they know like what tier you are, so automatically they put you ahead of the rest, which is like kind of bull in my opinion. But like, yeah, just give us money, man. Give me money. That's all I want. Money, free money. Let's go.
I like that feedback. Definitely like that feedback. What do you say, Pong? As far as like things that they could use instead of like a line skip, what would be a good incentive to you to, you know, I guess aspire to tier level 4 or something of that nature in comparison to what they have currently?
Oh, man, how about fix your regular customer service first, so you can say that you at least offer good customer service to everybody, and then we're going to give excellent customer service to our special people who buy a lot of games and play a lot of games, right? But let's just get the baseline up to good before you guys do something like this. Realistically, I'm on the same path as Mab. Again, I don't think this is the end of the world by any stretch. Like you said, Fuzzy, in the beginning, I really don't. And I think it's been overblown on one side, and I think it's been forgiven on the other side. I understand that a lot of industries do this. We see this in all types of industries, special programs, credit cards, Best Buy. I mean, you can go down the list. Movie theaters have VIP, gas stations. There's all different incentive-based programs that people have and rewards programs. So again, Sony's not doing anything out of the norm here by any stretch. It's just that the games industry is such a customer facing industry. It means so much to the customers that are interacting with you. And Sony, again, is not known for the greatest customer service out there by any stretch. In fact, most people that deal with them, and again, it's all anecdotal, I don't know what the true numbers are out of everybody who ever engages in Sony, but myself and my immediate friends and family that have dealt with Sony, it's awful. It's just terrible. So I don't think that this is the right move. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. They've had a lot of stumbles this generation. These things just add up over time. Is it the biggest deal? No, but they're boxing themselves into a corner that if let's say it comes out, people start having issues with their PlayStation 5s, which we've seen, which Matt brought up. Somebody is online, right, and saying, hey, awesome, I'm tier 4. I got my PlayStation back, fixed, or they replaced it within 5 days. And all of a sudden you got, 100 other people online that have been having issues with their PlayStation 5 that have been waiting for 3 weeks, a month to get their PlayStation 5 back. Well, now you got yourself in a real pickle, because that's when you really start hearing an uproar and people are scratching their heads going, what's going on here? Like, this is not fair, right? So I think that they put themselves into a bad corner. As far as what I would want to see, I'm on board with Mav. Give back more. If you want to, I understand you just want to create a list of the most benefits possible and you want people to feel special. I get it, right? I would say, why not offer your tier 4 people a discount on every full price game that they purchase after 4 within the year? If you want to make it the $70 mark, great. But why don't you give them a 10% discount? That's still,
you can make their game $60 again. That would be
right,
good.
or make their $60. But even if you don't want to do that, let's say that's too much for Sony, right? 10% off makes it $63. They're still getting $3 above what everybody else is charging for. Well, not everybody. Again, other companies are doing the $70 deal too. But I'm just saying, why not offer a 10% discount on games that you buy through the digital store after your first 4 purchases in your tier 4? Again, what's really getting me here, and I need the clarification, is VGC, the article that I read, and I haven't seen anybody come out and clarify this. They said that you got to buy 4 games and have 120 rare, or whatever it is, 128, whatever the heck it is, rare trophies. Listen, I was on PlayStation 4 for a long time. I'm a grazer. I don't get rare trophies. I have a lot of bronze and silver, but I don't have a lot of rares. I've never platinumed any game. Okay, this is crazy to me that they're also additionally not only saying, hey, you got to spend this X amount of dollars, and they haven't clarified if $70 is considered full price or if Stray is considered full price as well. They haven't clarified that either. Yeah. But knowing Sony, it's probably going to be $70 and up games, which means $280. You got to spend $280, and then you got to put hundreds of hours into these games in order to become tier 4. That's what's really getting me here. But if you're going to do this for those people, then I think the % back or the % off is the way to go. Or, give a gift, if you don't want to do % off, give a $10 gift card for every, game that you, or $5 gift card for every game that you purchase after that, or $5 store credit for your next digital purchase. Do something like that. Customers appreciate that. That goes along the lines as I was talking about in the beginning, how other companies do things. That's what customers recognize. That's basically the same thing as what Microsoft Rewards does, because you get points just like you earn points on certain credit cards. You earn points and you can turn those points into gift certificates. You can get, a month of Xbox Ultimate. You can go into their, store, and you can buy t-shirts, you can get credits towards their stores there. There's all different ways. I think that's what Sony should be focusing on. And I understand that a part of the PlayStation Stars program is that they're going to allow you to do that. But the language that they used seemed like, I don't know how much they're going to allow you to put towards store credit or put towards your digital purchases. It seemed like, you may be able to earn things towards the PlayStation Store. Well, what do you mean I may be able to earn things? This is what I'm talking about. Microsoft Reward Points is simple, right? You earn points wherever you're at. If I'm using Bing to search things, which I do at work, I turned all of our computers into Bing search engines so that every time somebody searches on one of our computers, I get points towards my account, right? They cap it out, but I did that, right? So, but it's real simple. You just know you're earning points, and the points can be turned into what, the whole list. They've got the whole storefront that you can turn your points into. It's very simple. Sony's doing this normal Sony thing where it's, you can earn these, and you can earn some of these NFTs, not NFT trophies that you could show off to your friends. We're going to have things for here. Things. Make it simple, Sony. Make it simple. Make it easy. But the money back, or the credits, or whatever you want to call them, the points, that's what's most important to customers. And I think you just increase value. Like I said, maybe at tier 3, you earn a 2% off, right? And then at tier 4, you get a 5% off. Something like that. That is just very simple for people to understand.
I'm still taken back that we've just found out that Pong is running an underground Microsoft Rewards.
I know, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, it's a mining operation. It's like Bitcoin mining operations.
Hidden in plain sight, huh, Pong?
They should find out that Pong only hires 13-year-olds.
Yeah, no. Oh, wow, no. I don't have any hiring firing.
No, you're not breaking any child labor laws or anything. Like that?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. No, I don't
Okay.
have a sweatshop set up somewhere with laptops full of Bing. No, I don't do that. Again, they cap you. They cap you.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, PTK. What are your thoughts on things that Sony could do in place of the line skip, as far as things that will help keep customers loyal to the brand that may already be enrolled in their PlayStation Stars program?
I mean, it's funny that we're talking about this, right? Like, I've been talking about this probably for like 6 to 7 months now. We're watching Sony having to do this in real time. Like, we're watching Sony having to make these changes that they otherwise wouldn't make. And they're not. This is not Sony's strength. This is not what Sony does. They set the narrative. Things have been a certain way, for a very long time. Now things are changing in real time and are having to adapt. With that being said, keep it simple. Like Pong said, they already got 2 examples. You got Nintendo, you got Xbox, you got the reward system works perfectly. If you spend more, you get more.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple, right? Let's not convolute this idea, and you're laying down barriers, separating your customer base. That's not gonna fly in any industry. I mean, it works. I know Pong alluded to, like point systems and things like that. And, you get it with, credit cards nowadays and banks and things like that. But in general, if I'm a gamer and like Mav alluded to, it would never work in person. If I'm standing in line and I see, somebody walk past me and say, "Hey, sorry, buddy, I'm more important. I spent more money. I don't know what to tell you." That's not gonna fly over with me. I'm not gonna be okay with that. Like, I'm not gonna be cool with that. So the fact that this is a thing, and then to further convolute it, what Pong brought up is ridiculous. Make it simple. Like he said, give them a discount at a certain point. A 10% discount, that seems feasible, especially seeing that a majority of the first party games are gonna be $70 already. That doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. They seem to be set on that price. They feel that that's what their games are worth, and their customers are going to pay for that. 10% is plenty. Like you said, what's about $63, $64 or something around there with a 10% discount? Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. I'm not going to be upset about that. Like I said, I'm a grazer. I don't do achievements. I'm not getting 120 rare trophies. I'm sorry. I mean, my gamer score right now is probably like 38, 39,000. I just don't really, I don't play games that way. If I'm into a game like Division or something, I might get close to platinuming it and/or getting all of the gamer score because I'm putting so much time in it. But I don't play games that way. And if being honest, a majority of people that play video games don't play games that way as well.
Yeah.
So you're furthering, that's even furthering, breaking up your customer base, which nobody likes. So keep it simple. Well, once again, this is Sony. We're seeing Sony having to make these changes, in real time. It's not cute. A lot of this shit happens behind doors. But this is not cute when you have to do shit in real time. So it's very interesting to see what they're gonna do long term. Maybe, like Pong said, there's gonna be enough pushback for them to take this back and reevaluate it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that if Sony's gonna really take that into consideration. I hope they do. I actually, to be honest with you, Pong, maybe you and Mav or Fuzz have. I actually haven't seen very many people even complain about this. Like, I mean, outside of a few people, but as far as on that side of the fence, I haven't seen very many Sony fans complain too much about this. Or really,
they've been saying it's fine.
Yeah,
they've been saying it's great. Yeah, they're championing it.
I should be treated like a VIP because I spend more.
Right.
It's like
right.
And I get that, but it's just, it strikes me wrong. Just like I've gone through rewards programs, and I feel bad if I'm in line and they call me ahead of somebody. Like I'm the first one to say, wait, who's cutting in line type of thing. But if I'm the one cutting in line, I'm like, I don't feel right. Maybe it's because I've been in customer service in part of my career. I can't, it's not for me. Give me early access to the game. If I spent more money on games, give me early access or something like that. Give me, like you guys have been saying, give me a discount on the game. Like if I'm saving 10%, if I'm saving the $7 out of the 70, I'm probably going to buy more games because now I have more money in my pocket to put towards more games. That's the big thing that I do with Microsoft Rewards points. It's like, hey, I get Game Pass for free. So now that frees up a lot more money to put towards more games or more for my hobby. Sure, I can put money elsewhere, but it's like if I'm getting money back from these guys for gaming, then I'm probably going to reinvest it back into gaming. It just, for me, that's what makes sense for me. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, PTK. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. No, once again, like I said, keep it simple. But this is what we're seeing real time from Sony. I'm very interested to see if they double back on this and say, you know what, this is not what we actually meant. You know, we're going to rework this and make it, you know, a bit more consumer friendly. You know, for our customer base, we don't really want to alienate anybody. You know, we don't want to, break our customer base down by their wallets, right? Nobody wants to be looked at. You know, they're creating a feudal system on PlayStation, you know, via, you know, essentially that's what it is. But it's kind of crazy to see that this is something that they really sat down and say, you know what, let's try this out, right? Like there was no survey or anything. Like there was no some type of like group that you went and got that said, you know, we'll sit down, let's listen to this idea. What do you guys think about this? Some kind of customer support group or just some type of group that you could, you know, sit down and run this idea by. You know, it seems like a pretty quick, you know, just left field kind of, let's just throw it out there and see if it sticks. So it is kind of odd, but I agree with Pong. Keep it simple. You know, you already got a great example with Xbox, more rewards or better discounts or something along those lines.
Right, and I'll use Mav here too. I was joking with him on Twitter because he posted about 2K's customer service and how he's getting he's getting cut and paste responses to questions concerning, you know, the boxes of cards he's buying for my team. I mean, again, this is no small sum of money, right? No small sum of money, and 2K is their customer service is simply copying and pasting the same response over and over again. No human interaction. I was joking with him on Twitter. It'd be like if he texts them and they're like, hey, we see you bought 2 boxes of my team cards, buy 2 more and you'll get a live service rep. It's like
that's essentially what that is.
Right, yeah. Right. It's crazy talk. It doesn't make any sense. It's a conversation that needs to be had. It's not right what Sony's doing. At the end of the day, how many times are people contacting customer service? The average gamer, probably never. Like, it's very rare that you're contacting customer service. So how often is this going to come up? But for the people who are, it is a little ridiculous. And like I said, if something starts coming out, if down the line we hear that there is preferential treatment that's costing people weeks of game time, or they're simply not getting responded to, which has been my experience with Sony, where I've had to hit them up like 6 times over a 2-week period to even get a simple response back from them. Like, if that's the case, and you got all these people that are tier 4 out here going, great customer service, it got right back to me, I got to answer in 30 seconds. That's when you really start to see people go, wait a minute. Now, this is not right. I'm a customer too. I might not be tier 4, but I'm still spending money in your ecosystem. Why do I have to wait 2 weeks for a response when Johnny over here gets a response in 30 seconds because he's tier 4? That's where you get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Well, great responses, guys. It like I said, it was a topic that kind of struck me the wrong way, and you've seen like on Xbox how I have like a ton of like rare achievements, and I don't even know how I get those. I think it's just from playing games that either nobody else wants to play or playing them at a time where not a lot of people finish it or reach certain levels, and I wind up getting like a lot of the gold trophies on stuff on PlayStation. So it's like, I'd probably be able to qualify for it, but I'm not balling with PlayStation anymore. It's like, change this policy, change it fast. Or, I mean, you lose me as a customer. I know they could care less the couple bucks I spend a year, but man, it just, I had to go messy on that one just for the fact.
We'll see if it comes to the West.
Yeah,
you know, it's not like here yet. You know, so hopefully they don't when the Stars launches here. It's already changed.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Thanks, guys.
No problem, man. Great topic, man. So I'm actually gonna throw one out here, man. I kind of wanted to get into this. Surprised somebody didn't get into it sooner. But the other huge topic that happened this week, obviously, Google shutting down Stadia. So I wanted to get into that a little bit. Kind of the impact on the industry, if any. You know, I kind of want to hear you guys' opinion. Once again, chat, get into this as well. This is a very interesting topic. Something that, you know, we kind of been just kind of waiting to happen, if we're all being honest. We just kind of been sitting around waiting for some word on, what Stadia was doing. It obviously wasn't doing well financially. It wasn't really growing. They had a lot of games that they were planning on making. They were working with a ton of devs. They even had a bunch of exclusive stuff that they were even looking at, and it doesn't seem, obviously at this point, any of that's being made ever again. So, earlier this week, Google shut down Stadia. That's happening. I don't know a specific timeline. But I want to get you
January something. January 18th, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the 18th.
So it'll be officially shut down. So, and one thing I do want to highlight in all of this, but kind of we don't want to forget about the human element, because sometimes that gets lost. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of devs got blindsided by this as well. They had contracts with Google to make games and do business, and that all of a sudden just went out the window within like 15 minutes. Essentially, a lot of people were told like right before the tweet was made. Like 15 minutes before the tweet was made, that's when the people working there were told about this. So seemingly a lot of people were blindsided. So we don't want to forget about that as well. But we're going to throw this over to you, Mav. Once again, brother, I don't know where you were at with Stadia. Obviously, this Stadia, was something that Google, in Google fashion, right? Dump a bunch of money into and seemingly don't understand the market that they're trying to get into. So where you at on this, man?
What Stadia?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it's it's a pretty big deal. I think that it's a shame that Google, if they were going to try to get into gaming, like directly, because they're still involved in gaming in a big way, indirectly, just because they have such control over the storefront for mobile devices. It's a shame that they didn't really take it seriously. It seems like they just expected us to have, because they have good streaming tech, all of a sudden it's a massive success. And they were surprised that they didn't. They just kind of like they kind of half-assed it. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
And you can't go into a business like this. It's so customer focused and like oriented with like so much excitement and hype around the games that are coming out, releases, and expect just your tech to carry it through, right? And that's kind of what they did. It's a shame that Microsoft is getting blamed by some people for this because they just lack any kind of intelligence whatsoever. This in no way is Microsoft's fault. Google has the money to compete. They chose not to because they didn't have the taste for it, right? They didn't want to do the work. They didn't want to spend the money that it would be required, like Microsoft's doing, right, to really fully compete in this business, in this industry. They kind of had a lot of people that really liked the service, but it was never a good model to begin with, right? And when they have this model that they had that was not really a lot of people buying into it, you were doomed from the get-go. And when remember Stadia had a lot of excitement behind it when it was announced. And when they had the reveal event and they explained it, everybody was like, oh, that's going to fail. That's going to fail. Like, what are they doing? You have to just buy all your games again in Stadia, and like there's not really a subscription thing going here with new games hitting it or anything like that. It's just like buy games that are ported over to the platform and you can play them on cloud. Now, it was good for a lot of people. Like, say you have not a great PC or device that you want to stream those games to. A lot of people liked it, but there was no brand like recognition behind the gaming aspect for it. You know what I mean? And that was doomed to fail from the get-go. So what the second thing that happened was they just decided that they didn't like developing their own games, right? They started to do it. They decided that it was going to be too much cost, too much work, or too much, I don't know what, but they just decided to shut down all of their first-party stuff that they were working on. So it's a shame with that aspect. However, that being said, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, like if they're never really too interested in it, it's better that they're not involved at all, right? The second thing is that really sucks. Now, I got to give them props for giving refunds to anybody that bought anything through the Google store, because a lot of companies wouldn't have done that, right? A lot of companies wouldn't have just been like, okay, here's your thousands of dollars back that you've invested into this ecosystem since it launched, right? And they're actually doing that. But what I would like clarification on or to understand is what about these developers and these companies that have been developing games for this thing or porting over their games, working on adapting it to a Linux based system or whatever to get the game in Stadia. And all of a sudden they announce their game is coming to the platform. And now guess what? Nobody can even buy anything in the platform anymore because you announced it's shutting down. So what about the development costs to the publishers and the developers that are working on these things that were excited to be able to get those games on those platforms, right? Uh, I understand they probably didn't tell a lot of people beforehand because obviously it could have gotten out, right? But there's a way they could have handled it a little bit better with the transparency to the devs ends, at least on that side. Um, it's interesting, man. It's another Google disaster. We'll see what they do next. They said they're going to use this tech for streaming and other avenues, other businesses that they have in different industries because it's a good tech. But I'm just curious what their interest is in gaming overall now because this was their big chance to become a
Yeah.
major player, but now they're just relegated to be a storefront on. Granted, it's one of the biggest storefronts in gaming, right? Because Google Play, if you have an Android device, that's where you buy your games.
Exactly.
So if you're playing mobile games, which is a huge industry, right? We focus on console and PC type gaming talk here, but guess how many mobile gamers there are? There's a lot. So to think that they're just not involved in gaming, period, is just not true, right? Because they have a lot of games in their storefront. They also have a subscription service within that as well. And we see how big mobile gaming is taking off, right? We see like the D23 Expo, we saw the Ubisoft Forward, how many mobile games they showcased there. And I honestly I'm just curious if they just saw that aspect of where gaming is going with the mobile market and how games keep improving in that way. And they just figure, hey, we'll just take a cut of this. Maybe they just were like, well, why develop our own things and we just make money off everybody else's?
Yeah. No,
That's kind of what it seems like to me anyway.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I agree 110%. It's going to be interesting that like you said, you kind of emphasized it a couple times, Mav. That next, like, what's the next phase of this for them? Because like you said, this is their shot. I don't think they even attempt to do this again. I don't think they even bother trying to do this unless the market changes dramatically or something happens and it creates like a opening for them to step back in. I don't think they even try and do this again. It is not easy. That's why do you think there's only Sony, Xbox, and Nintendo? Like as far as console makers, like it's not easy to get to that point. Like to create a brand, to create a console, or do something in that space. And like you're gonna lose a lot of money. Xbox lost a ton of money. Sony lost a ton of money. Nintendo's been profitable for a long time, but they lost money early. Like you're gonna take some big losses. And Google's a fickle company, man. Right? As soon as that pan get a little hot, oh no. Like we not no, we're not doing this. Turn it off, take it off the stove. We don't want to touch this no more. So typical Google fashion, like you said, the biggest thing here, we don't want to lose sight of the human, obviously effect on this. The devs, like you said, they had a lot of they actually, and I saw, shout out to Focus Active in chat, there was a lot of stuff that they could have had like exclusive, like Overdose, High on Life, Corey. He named a couple games. They had some stuff, man. They were working on some stuff there. They could have had some
they had a Kojima game they were going to be making. You know what I mean? Like they shut that down, and it's like once they shut that down and they shut down the other things they're working on, it's like they just kind of lost their potential identity in gaming.
Yeah,
like you can't just have a device that's just a pure third party thing and really become a major player there. Like that's where like the other things are, like Logitech G Cloud and the Razer Edge and these things, because those are cloud streaming devices as well. You know what I mean? That they just weren't as invested as they could have been. And for a tech giant, like not to really have the taste for that, it just seems like it just was something they were experimenting with and dabbling with, and they just were like, hey, we're already making so much money in gaming like this and this side. You know what I mean? Like seems like a complicated business to get into. We got to run all these studios, we got to run all these different things, and it's not something we're like really behind. And they didn't really have the right guy behind it either, right?
Oh yeah, we not that guy. So I've never seen a guy go into a company and have a destroy it from within, and then get a raise. Go find the same position at the next mega company and get hired. Like he's done this like 3 or 4 times, man. That man leaves he leaves disaster in its wake, man. Everywhere he goes.
He needs to write a book on how to fail upwards.
Dude,
It'd be a bestseller.
How do you fail so often but continue to get promotions?
Phil Harrison is just a master, or either that or he's got dirt on everybody in the industry. Right? He's hacked everybody's computers. He's got emails. He's got pics, and he just goes from company to company and shows them off to the CEO and says, hire me. Otherwise, this gets out. That's all this is.
Well, go ahead, man. Pick up where we left off on.
Yeah, so as far as Stadia goes, first of all, Stadia had a purpose and a reason in this industry. Again, just because it had no interest to me, companies have to take risks. They were ahead of their time. We've seen Xbox be ahead of their time a lot over the years, over the decades, right? Things that, maybe had come out at a different time, might have been really popular or might have come off well, just didn't. That's what I think would happen with Stadia. They were ahead of the curve. They were ahead of the tech. That's why, everybody who's played Stadia, anybody that I've listened to or talked to that's played Stadia says it's the best streaming experience that you can find. So I got to believe that that's true. So their tech was right up. But unfortunately, people aren't ready to have that as the only avenue where you can purchase your games or play your games. You got to still have, in this day and age, diversity like Xbox. That's why Xbox works. They've got xCloud, and we've heard that you're going to be able to buy games through xCloud eventually coming sooner than later. But you've also got Game Pass. You've also got the consoles. There's all different avenues to game through Xbox. Whereas Stadia, that's what you had. That was it. It's streaming. You got to buy your games, like Matt said, full price. The business model sucked. Everybody told them it sucked from the moment it launched. It was terrible, right? That again, this was, I follow Stadia people, honestly, on Twitter. I have for a long time. I've actually listened to some podcasts here past couple days of Stadia people, just kind of hear their opinions on it, because I'm always curious about what drives people to commit to a product like that. And to be one of those early adopters. And it's really amazing. I mean, a lot of the talking points are the same that we use on console and that kind of stuff. And a lot of them still are defending the company. They're not happy with the decision, obviously. And again, like Mav said, shout out to them for refunding. Everybody seems to be happy with that they're actually getting some of their money back. But they really believed at the end of the day that if had Google really invested heavily, they could have made this work, and this could have been the next evolution in gaming. So, in a lot of ways, Stadia pushed Microsoft to invest more into xCloud as well. That's why we heard Phil come out, the famous quotes that Sony's not our competitor. It's Google, it's Apple, it's all these other companies, and people scratch their heads. Well, that again drove Xbox. That's competition in that space. So Xbox invested more heavily into xCloud because Stadia was hanging out here, had better tech, and all of that behind it. So I think that Stadia did overall a good thing for the industry. It was just at the wrong time, but also it is just, look, the graveyard behind Google headquarters, Alphabet's headquarters is now full. Okay, they're stacking bodies at this point. Okay, there's no more room to bury anything. Okay, this is now, it's been long known for this. The history is out there. I mean, there's people that have dedicated entire web pages to the long list of failed Google initiatives and devices.
Rip Hangouts.
Yeah, right. So this is nothing new for Google. They dipped their toe into an industry that is extremely unforgiving. You're trying to jump into an industry that is at its peak as we know it right now. This is the biggest point. That's why you see Microsoft making the biggest, or attempting to make the biggest acquisition of Microsoft Corporation's history, not just Xbox, of Microsoft's history. So you're coming into this industry that you've got to be all in. You can't dip your toe into it. I mean, Amazon is still dipping their toe around. Now, I've seen a little bit more effort out of them. They've had some more success with like games like New World, etc., coming out of their first party, but they're still dipping their toe. We haven't seen them go out and make any big acquisitions. If Google really wanted Stadia to succeed with this terrible business model that they had, they were going to have to go get exclusives. They were going to have to go drive people to that service in some way. And the way they were going to have to do that is big acquisitions. Yeah, they had some deals on the table for like a Kojima, a Kojima exclusive with Overdose is what we assume that is. So that would have been great. It would have been a great start, but you would have had to go out and get some big IP, like you would have had to go make a ZeniMax deal and say, guess what? If you want to play Starfield, you got to hop on Stadia. If you want to play the next Elder Scrolls, you got to hop on Stadia. They would have had to go do that and see if they could force people into that service. And they just weren't ready. Again, I think that's why there's a lot of this narrative out of there. Microsoft is the reason why Stadia died. No, Stadia, again, anybody who says that is lying. Now, did Microsoft open the higher ups at Google's eyes when they made that ZeniMax purchase? Absolutely. I believe that they absolutely did. When they went and made that deal, and it was $7 billion, which is 1/10 of what ABK is, but it was $7 billion. Google looked at that and said, whoa, yeah, no, we're not here for this, folks. Listen,
we got the receipt at the end of dinner.
Yeah. Look, our card doesn't have that kind of limit on it right now. Even though technically it does, we just are, we're just not looking to spend that on a steak, right? So
Microsoft is pointed to there, Pong, but like you look at all the other acquisitions that were made in the industry in the same amount of time, and what did Google acquire? Right.
And
some really small situational
studios
type stuff, right?
Like, and that's what I was just
player at all in any of that market.
Right. And that's what I was just going to say, Mav. They saw the writing on the wall with consolidation, right? And ZeniMax was the big one at that time, but there was other consolidation going on. Google was watching what was going on in this industry right now, and their reliance, because they weren't investing. Yeah, they had a couple first-party studios, like Mav just said. They did go acquire some people. They had some talent. They had Jade Raymond and her team, so they did have some talent there. But when they started seeing the landscape change, that consolidation was happening, so they weren't going to be able to go buy third-party deals, much like we see Sony's position right now with them screaming about Call of Duty. They are so reliant on third-party deals. Google looked at that and said, yeah, if this consolidation continues to happen, we're going to have a harder and harder time buying third-party deals to get big games over here like we did with Destiny. Destiny was probably their biggest get from a third-party standpoint because they had to rely on that. They were spending, and listen, like Mav said, this is a Linux-based system. People did not want to port their games over. Google was spending tons of money just to get games to come over. They were spending tens of millions of dollars just to get a third party to be willing to bring their games over, much like Xbox had to do with some Japanese games and Eastern games back during Xbox 360 era. They had to go cut big checks to people to get games to come over because, again, the market wasn't there. When publishers and developers looked at the size of the pool that Stadia had of players, it just wasn't worth their time or money to do anything about it. So they were going out here and spending oodles of money to try to just get people to bring their games over. So again, the whole model itself was wrong from the beginning. I think the tech was right. It's just the whole model didn't work for this time frame. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, could we see it? Again, I've said absolutely. I think at some point, everybody goes all digital. I think we are streaming. I think at some point the tech does catch up. And we're again, all these makers, Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox will all drop their hardware. Hardware is an additional cost of R&D, time, and money. They lose, Sony and Xbox both lose on the consoles out the gates. Nintendo makes money because they use cheap parts. But for the big players, they lose money. So hardware will be one of the first things to go as soon as the experience is just as good as it is natively, which eventually everybody can say, well, that's not going to happen. Listen, eventually, we've seen it too many times. Tech will catch up. Eventually, that will be the case. And that'll be the first thing these companies ditch. But right now, in 2022, or when Stadia came out 3.5 years ago, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it for people to make that commitment to a stream-only device, buying digital-only products through the cloud, games through the cloud. It's just not worth it. It was wrong time. Right tech, wrong time for Google. And because Google wasn't behind it 100%, this is the end result, which is what we all thought was eventually going to happen. So sad to see it go because, again, I think it did have its place. I think it did push the cloud gaming forward in a lot of ways. And it was a competitor for Microsoft at the end of the day. Phil said it himself. And so I think that did give that there was some value to having Stadia in this industry for sure, even if it was very small as far as a gamer pool goes.
Okay. No, once again, I think it's a great point. A lot of great points you hit on there. Just tentativeness. This industry is not one for you can't be tentative, man. You're gonna be in, you gotta be all the way in, you gotta commit to it. You can't just half-ass it, and Google completely half-ass. Like you said, right out the gate with the business model was a huge L.
Yeah.
Essentially it crippled it was, they self-inflicted wound, right? Is what we say.
Yes.
So kind of handicapped themselves out the gate, Pong. So I agree with you there. So let's throw this over to you, Fuzz, before we wrap it up, man. Get your opinion on Stadia getting shut down.
Can we have a moment of silence for no, I'm just kidding. No, but in all seriousness, who didn't see this coming? I mean, we kind of joked about it, and I know it's not nice to joke about people's careers and futures and stuff, but we kind of joked about it from get-go that this was like dead man walking. Like Google as a parent, like if they don't make money instantly, if this doesn't hit the ground running like right out the gate, they're going to kill it in like 2 months. I'm almost surprised it lasted this long. Like honestly, I thought after the more recent Chromecast that didn't have it already built in came out and you couldn't get the app on there, like you could sideload it, and then less than a month after that thing came out, they put a patch out so you couldn't even sideload Stadia onto that Chromecast. Once that happened, everybody should have known. Head for the hills. It's dead. It's dead on arrival. When you pull something from hardware where you can't even force it on, and they're all about open source and making things compatible and so forth. When they did that, that should have told everybody. Their heart's not in it anymore. It was basically like they saw the writing on the wall of and whether people want to point at Microsoft as being the ones that killed them off, or like Pong said, open their eyes, because that's all it did. It's like, oh, we got to spend $7 billion to be in this. Oh, we weren't about that life. We $2 billion, sure. $7 billion, nah. We're packing up and going home, type of thing. And ever since then, I'm surprised they allowed it to kind of be on life support this long. Like the fact that they're doing refunds on hardware and software, and I'm assuming that's if you bought it directly through them. Good luck on if you bought it through Best Buy or other places. But the fact that they're doing refunds, kudos to them. That should be applauded, and that's as far as it goes when it comes to Google. Whether you want to point the finger at Phil Harrison or just Google, board members in general, or Alphabet board members in general, this I just felt like it never stood a chance. Like it was almost like they didn't even have the inkling of support that Xbox had back when Xbox was on death's door type of deal in 2017 or prior to 2017. It's like they didn't even have that level of support for Stadia. It just seemed like they saw that, oh, money can be made in gaming, even though they already are a player in gaming when it comes to the Google Play Store. Like they had so many internal things that they could leverage that they never seem to figure out. Like they're up there in the cloud industry. They're up there with YouTube. Like the fact that Amazon has Twitch is a big thing in their hip pocket. And once Amazon decides to release Luna to the the general public and start pushing it or advertising it, that's the one to look out for. But Google had that potential where, and I don't know if it was just a matter of they couldn't get the programming right out the gate, or if it was just that they didn't want to bother with the extra development time once they saw that this wasn't what they thought it was before they got in to get
Fuzzy,
it.
you couldn't even do a Google search through Stadia.
Yeah, and that's what they built their business on. Like,
speaking on Google search, if you search for refund Stadia right now, I'm getting 0 search results on Google.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
Wow.
So
No, I'm kidding.
The PlayStation.
Oh, shit.
Okay. I was gonna be like, damn, wow.
Jesus, yeah.
Error.
Yeah, but it's just so funny that they didn't use any of their internal stuff to leverage anything. Like you have YouTube, you have a cloud based service, which I guess Netflix was a big customer prior to AWS or something like that with them, and they've just so much potential that they squandered. They wasted. I don't get it. Google could have been a much bigger player in this had they been serious about it from get-go. And some of the stuff that they were doing, as far as, yes, they had issues with the 4K streaming, and they eventually got some of that kind of resolved, but they definitely gave xCloud in the early days a run for its money. Like, a lot of people will testify that it was a better or a more consistent streaming service, even though it may not have been at a higher resolution or anything like that. But they had a solid foundation to build on. It's just that either they picked the wrong people to run it, or just their hearts weren't in it. And any way you look at it, it's a shame, because it would have. I like having competition in a space where it keeps the current players honest. Like, not saying that Microsoft is going to go off on a tangent and start pulling the Sony and charging more and giving less type of stuff, but at least when you have competition, each service is going to try its best to lower that latency number, to try and see if they can get more titles or different exclusives or different different experiences that may be that next thing from like battle royale. Not that battle royale is dying or that it needs to die or anything like that, but there's that level of creativity when you have a new player in the arena. They could come out of left field with something, and it could be the next biggest hit, and then everybody's chasing after that glass in a bottle or lightning in a bottle type of thing. But yeah, it's a shame that that they're killing it off in January. I'm surprised it lasted this long, but in all honesty, Google once again proves that they if it doesn't make money the first couple of days, you can count it, it's a countdown ticker on it as far as like Dead Man Walking after that, and they just continue to do that with their projects and services and things. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. And shout out to all the devs too, PTK.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to take over, but shout out to all the devs, because they were really screwed in this. I mean, from big to small. I mean, Hot Wheels Unleashed even put out a meme like, "Are you serious?" They were just launching Hot Wheels Unleashed. I mean, that was coming this week, and they're like, "What? Wait, what?" So shout out to all the devs. I know, and shout out to actually some of the bigger third-party publishers like Ubisoft and stuff. They're trying to figure out ways where they can bring the progress over to a different platform from Stadia. Some of it's built in, like Destiny's already got cross-platform save and that kind of stuff from Stadia. But there's a lot of devs out there doing work on that side, publishers doing work on that side too, to try to help the Stadia players transfer somewhere else. But I can guarantee you, Sarah Bond and her team are working the phones right now and saying, "Hey, we got a home for you, devs."
I was just gonna get into that. I was
go ahead. Then go ahead, PTK. Go ahead.
No. It's just that I was gonna say. I know we've been talking about the situation, but there is a benefit. There's gonna be a fallout, and other companies are gonna be able to benefit because of this. There was a lot of projects, a lot of deals that were made that are no longer, that are just kind of left blowing in the wind at this point. And there's going to be companies out there, Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, looking to pick up the pieces and say, "Hey, look, like you said, we got a home for your game. We got a home, we got a platform, we got a great player base. What do you need from us? Here's a check, here's resources, all these other things." So I know you already getting into that, Paul.
Do we know what the subscriber count was for Stadia?
I have no idea. Chat, anybody know
or the
what
user
the subscriber
base
count or user base was?
I don't think they put out any public numbers, but I think their most played game being Destiny, I think its highest concurrent number was somewhere in the 6,000 range. Now, I'm pretty sure there were more, accounts than that, but for that particular game, highest player count being around 6, or concurrent player count being around 6,000. That should give you a rough guesstimate of how much penetration they had, at least on multiplayer end of things. Single player, it's a bit different, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's got to be. I just did a quick Google search too. Active
Stadia users,
Stadia users active. So we could take. So there's a quick one here. Approximately 220,000 total active Stadia users.
Ooh, rough, man. Okay.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. Wow. I was like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Wow. That's
that was July.
That's a lot lower than I thought.
Yeah. I was at least 2-3 million. Same with you, Matt.
Yeah, I think Ouya had more success out the gate.
I think Mixer had more users.
These people did a breakdown of some of the numbers, and they assume that that's roughly based upon the revenue and that kind of stuff. That's where it's sitting as like.
So they were hemorrhaging money.
Ooh, yeah,
They
that's
were
like
hemorrhaging. Yeah, they were losing it because I mean, like you said, they were shelling out millions of dollars to get games on the platform, all while only having under 300K player base.
that's what happens when you don't give people a reason to subscribe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, or to not
I-
subscribe, but to use the platform. Now, that being said, I am not upset that there's not big AAA Stadia exclusive games from these publishers that we've always known and loved. So,
Right.
that being said, that could have been gone another direction too. Let's say they're the ones that buy ZeniMax Bethesda, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine Starfield being
Lord
a
have
Stadia
mercy.
exclusive?
Oh no.
Right.
Oh,
And
no.
then
Right.
what would happen to Bethesda after this whole deal?
Right. If they had if it
Fire
didn't work
sale?
out. Right. Yeah. I saw another one in here saying 750,000 at some point this year. I got another one that says peak all time for Stadia was 1.3 million peak users, active users for a month.
Okay.
So that's the most they ever had active, right? So a lot of
Hmm.
people have dropped off, right? So
Yeah,
yeah. So it definitely wasn't working. But yeah, no, the devs are going to be looking for homes, and they're going to be looking for places for their games. There's going to be a lot of people who spend a lot of time and money. There's probably going to be some smaller devs that probably put all of their money into a game and now are going to have to try to come up with more money to port it over somewhere else. And like I said, that's where Sarah Bond and her team, they've got to be working the phones. I guarantee they are. The ID at Xbox program are going to be able to help out a lot of these devs.
Mhm.
That's what happens when you take the time and put the resources
You
and effort
already
into
ready.
creating. You're ready.
You already
You're
ready.
ready for these situations.
Yeah.
Were any of these big multi-platform AAA type games coming to Stadia day one, or was that like a thing, or they come
They
later?
were trying, and I think there were some hiccups because, like Pong had said earlier, with it being a Linux-based kernel,
Yeah.
it wasn't always possible for some of the dev teams to do same date. So you would see like, oh, it's launching on all
People
platforms,
don't
and
want to
then
wait when
like a
they're
week or
excited
two
for a
later, it
game
was like
like
a month or two later. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, man, it was doomed. One of the stupidest business models, man. Like Google's going to make more off of these Logitech G Clouds and Razer devices and all these other things from the storefronts on those than they made on Stadia, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they had figured out a way to incorporate Google Play as just this being like a section of Google Play, I think it would have been for the better. Like even if it just makes whatever your TV or portable device an Ouya Pro or whatever, that would have been fine. I think if they had figured out a way to kind of combine
Or-
those and just expand it from that. It's like, oh yeah, if you're a Google Play member and you already have like the rewards program that they have, yeah, you could put that towards Stadia games, or you can now play those on your phone, or something to that effect. I think would have been an easier first step to kind of lure people over.
Or they could have. I have another idea as well regarding how they could have just presented. Like you said, I think you're right, Pong. I did hear the same as well. A lot of people talked about the tech. The tech was there. It was a little early. You're right about how it played out, but the tech was there. Had they maybe embraced? Would you guys think maybe embraced indies a little more? Maybe smaller games and kind of took a low level entry point. Like this is where you can play some of these smaller exclusive type games.
I just don't think it would drive enough people.
Maybe
enough
not,
business. Yeah, I don't think you get enough. I mean, you got to have the diversity, but you got to have the big games. I mean,
Yeah.
whether the third party or first party, you got to have those big games to drive numbers to create a reason for people to start investing in a brand new ecosystem like that is all digital, that is cloud based. You really gotta do something special at this point.
So one thing is interesting too. Like I just was curious, how much money does Google make from gaming? This was like in 2020, right? This was a year COVID, right? Like big time. Everybody's at home. Would have been potentially the biggest year that they've had, right? In the gaming industry. In 2020, actually, sorry, this is 2021. I guess this is 2021 revenue. They made $11 billion from the gaming industry. Microsoft made 12.9, Apple 15.3, Sony 18.2, and Tencent $32.2 billion. So Apple's out edged Google slightly in 2020 and 2021. But it shows like you don't have to have your own platform like a Stadia to be a huge player in the gaming industry. Like they're still in the top 5 in gaming revenue.
Yeah.
Right. this is without really Stadia being a huge player, because if their max player base was only like 1.3 million, they weren't making a ton from that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? This
that's
was
all Google
mainly
Play,
this is mainly
the
Google
mobile.
Play, like Apple's stores and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So you're talking about still one of the main players in gaming space, just because they have such a dominant market position with the storefront.
Yeah. And that's what's even more of a head scratcher, right? They see those
Yeah.
numbers, and yet they're still not willing to go full in on their own.
Well, for them, it's like they already make so much dang money without even having to
Right.
make the game. So, like, if
Right.
if the more that gaming goes into the mobile and cloud
Yeah.
status, and more people are playing on mobile devices and all these different devices, I think they're just looking at, hey, our business is growing in that sense anyway. Like, so we're not even having to do anything other than just make sure that we try and keep the monopoly on our devices on the storefront,
But there's
right?
some reason
Yeah.
why they dipped in, right? There's some reason
Yeah.
behind it. It's just weird. But Google does this all the time. So again,
Yeah.
it's nothing new.
Not new, not new at all. And the one thing, and before we close the show here, man, great show by the way. But I just like you said, Pong, like I wonder how fast Sarah got on the phone.
Oh yeah.
Like I wonder how quickly, you know what I mean? Like what they're looking at that, just any company like Nintendo,
Correct.
even Sony. Like I wonder if they're
Yes.
looking at this like, okay, let's see what we can clean up. You know, there was a lot there. So that's going to be what, you know, because this could change next year's E3 and forward as far as like what these games lineups were supposed to be that we thought they were going to be next year and the year going forward. You know what I mean? We can see
Yeah.
games that are like now inserted into these lineups that we didn't expect, you know, come from the fallout of this. So that'll be kind of cool to see how all of that falls. But I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show, man. This has been another amazing show, man.
We
We've
didn't
been
even get to
kicking it.
everything, PTK.
We
That's how
didn't.
big.
We
No, we
didn't,
didn't get
man.
close. I mean,
No.
God, Phil's worst fears. Tencent is coming. I mean, we got that article today too. So you know, Phil talked about it, and people poo-pooed it. Some people said, "Yeah, whatever." Tencent's coming, folks.
Yeah.
They're coming to make big
They're
acquisitions.
trying to,
so look
exactly.
out.
They're not
Another
trying
shark.
to buy. They just want a majority of your company. We
Yep,
just
and
want
now
the majority stake.
Yeah, they're coming big, and Saudi Arabia is coming big. So
Yeah.
more sharks are showing up, just like Phil predicted.
And
So,
when we were talking about that whole acquisition talk earlier, I mean, I was going to chime in and say, like, if we didn't go east there as well, like, I would want them to potentially save Ubisoft from a 10-cent takeover.
Yes.
Because that is like a concern now after they said they're changing their thing, and they already own almost half of the Eves brothers company right now. So it's like they're heavily invested in Ubisoft and some of these other companies. Like, which one are they going to go for? Ubisoft could be the one that is the easiest for them to take.
What if they do Epic?
They could do Epic too, and maybe like that. They're like, okay, let's take the big check from Tencent. Let's just get out
in charge of UE. Oh my god,
Lord have mercy.
Oh god.
I think that would almost kill the industry, considering how they would probably find a way to squeeze every usage out of it, or every dollar out of usage of it. So they would ultimately control the next generation.
Tim Sweeney, don't do it, man.
But no, that's so that's once again, we didn't get into everything. There was so much this week, but we still had a phenomenal show, man. Shout out to chat for keeping up with us. You guys are fucking amazing every single week, hanging out with us, showing love, retweeting the show. Leave a comment on your way out, man. I read every comment, so thank you guys so much for being here with us, man. But before we go, we want to do a quick roundabout here. We'll start with our special guest, man. No need to say anything about the gentleman. Once again, thank you. The pleasure is ours, Mav, for hanging out with us, brother. Appreciate you for blessing us this evening, coming in, stepping in last minute, but we appreciate you. All Mav's information is in the description. He is part of the Shop Podcast, man, a family member. Shout out to everybody at FSP. Everybody was showing love. They always do every single week, bro. But let everybody know where they can find you if they don't know already.
Yeah, again, Fun Speculation on Twitter and Fun Speculation on YouTube. We have multiple shows. Fun Speculation podcast on Mondays, Thursdays is PM in the PM with my buddy Pong Soul here, and then on Fridays is Xbox Ultimate Podcast. And we'd like to have a lot of fun, do a lot of game streams. I'll be streaming some Battlefield tonight as well, guys. So come check that out. Follow on Twitter, and if you want to find out when we're going live and for all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you guys here. You're right, PTK is absolute family here for me. You guys all rock, and I love talking to you guys all the time. So when I come here and I get to chat on Shop, it's natural, bro.
Appreciate you,
Love
brother.
man.
And we love having you here, man. Shout out to everybody over there, FSP fam, man. You guys are awesome. You guys do me a big favor. You know what we do? Every guest here, we go show love. You know, they show love here to us by spending time and giving us these good, takes and everything like that. So you guys go show them love, subscribe, follow, do all of that cool stuff. Once again, thank you, man, for hanging out with us. Shout out to Caitlin for actually allowing this to happen, because that's really what this was.
Yeah,
She allowed for this time to happen. So shout out to you, Caitlin, as well. But yeah, my two compatriots here, man, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. Once again, another show on the books, brother.
Yeah.
Let everybody know where they can find you, man.
It was just awesome being here with you guys tonight. Always great to be on the podcast with Mav and UPTK and Pong. Man, this is like the highlight of the week for me. So always enjoy doing this. Thanks to everybody coming out and joining us for tonight, and for all those that want to hear my rambles on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on the Xbox. Was it the lunch break special on Double Barrel Gaming on Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and FSP on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays. Also, Breakfast with Boom on Double Barrel Gaming, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mr. Boomstick's channel, and then Xbox Ultimate on Fun Speculations channel at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday evening, and then right back here with you guys on the Shop Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern. So look forward to it.
Awesome, brother. We appreciate you, man. Go follow Fuzz, man. Awesome dude. You guys know, love him here at the Shop Podcast, man. Appreciate you, brother. And last but not least, our Duracell battery of the Shop Podcast, Mr. Pong Soul, aka Pong Harvey. Let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Amazing show as always, but obviously always extra special when we've got guests here, and of course having my brother from another Fun Speculation, aka Mav, here makes just the cherry on top of your Saturday night. And hey, quick shout out to Outbreak Dave, Outbreak Podcast, Web Dave.
Yeah,
you hopped into the chat.
Out,
I hope everything's going well, man. I know you hopped in there and said some things, so hope everything gets good for the family and stuff, and hope everything turns out all right. Missed you tonight. Can't wait to get in another podcast with you. I missed doing shows with you, man. It's been a while. So, but a shout out to him. But yeah, no, it was great to have Matt here. You guys had awesome comments. Obviously, you had two of the co-mayors of Speculation Town, so we had to go to Speculation Town.
Yeah.
You guys killed it. You guys nailed it tonight. I appreciate you guys for taking that tour with me and Mav, of course, as the other co-mayor. But it was fun. It was a really great time tonight. So, Pong Soul on Xbox, Pong Soul on Twitter. You guys all know that. Of course, Tuesdays, it's Xbox Factor Podcast. Whether I'm there or not, it doesn't matter. It's Double Barrel Gaming. Mr. Boomstick, the madman that he is now back to 5 shows, 5 days a week. The dude is crazy. He's retired. Man, but he's one of the best in the business. So you got to check out Xbox Factor Podcast. Always has a full panel every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. And then, yeah, pause, right? I choked there for a second. That was perfect timing. 11 o'clock. Okay, all right.
I wasn't going to let that slip.
No, you shouldn't have let that slip. So, damn, spit rolling down the back of my throat. Anyways,
whoa.
All right. Yes, that's right, sir. We went left right here. See, you get fun speculation in here. This is what happens. We go left. All right. So, and then Thursday nights, it's PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM, like Mav already said, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Be there, 2-man show, unless we have guests, which we had 3 weeks in a row of guests. But this past week, we were back to just me and Mav. Great show on Thursday, so go check that out if you haven't. But we will be back next week as well. Join us there. And then, of course, Xbox Ultimate Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. We got Psychonauts back, so things definitely go left with Psychonauts. Missed him a lot being in there. So great to have him back last night. We had a good time. Great talks, even though I have to show up late sometimes. It's always fun there. So be there every Friday night. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, Living Split Screen. My brother from another, Steel Rain, and I, 3+ hours. You all know the drill. We went over 4 again today. We got through most of the topics. Actually, it was unbelievable. But join us because we are on Mission 1K. Keep telling other people about it. The community has been absolutely phenomenal with that aspect. Again, we're not doing giveaways. We're not doing any of that stuff. We're not trying to buy subs. We're just doing it the old-fashioned way, but we only do one show a week. So be there every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. BST time for your live, raw, and uncut energy that is Living Split Screen. Otherwise, I'll be back here, of course, to do the Shop Podcast with two of my favorite people in PTK and Fuzzy, God willing. So otherwise, it's the golden age of gaming, people. Get out there, rest of your weekend. I hope it is absolutely memorable. Play what you love what you play, and I'll talk to you all real soon.
Shout out to you, man. Appreciate you, Pong, every single week, man. You guys know Pong brings that energy every week, man. Not fake, real deal every single day, man. Appreciate you, Pong, so much, man. And once again, your host of the show, the Shop Podcast, man, here at PTK Blam. Catch me on Xbox, PTK Blam, Twitter. All the information is in the description below. Follow me there for the poll of the week. You'll find out, the guest, Monday, Tuesday-ish, sometimes Wednesday, depending on when I can get one locked in. But thank you guys for joining us. Same time, same place next week. Risk it. Don't worry, bro. There's a replay. Just click the link as soon as it's over, brother. You can watch it from the beginning, and that's anybody else that caught us a little bit late. Shout out to you guys once again. Have a great weekend. Play some video games, which I'm about to go do right now. Peace out, everybody.
Later.